welcome to the Discover Hip Hop Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Grant, and we've got a little bit of a different episode today. It is a Sunday, so it is, of course, a guest episode. Today we're sitting down with an amazingly talented artist out of Wollongong. He's gone from a life of addiction to a life of positive change and wanting to have a positive impact on the world around him. So we talk all about that. We talk about his skateboarding journey, hip hop, what hip hop means to him and how involved he's been in it throughout his life. We touch on Tony Hawk Underground 2 and just how the things he's pursued in life have taught him determination and persevering. So guys, I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a great chat. We had a really good conversation. Sit back and relax and discover J.Rumz. But tell us more about your skating journey.
Just as a whole, or just today?
A bit of both, I guess.
So I started skateboarding when I was about 8 years old.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, my brother had a skateboard and my brother was skating, and I think at that time mum had bought like me and my brother a skateboard. It's just like this Kmart skateboard, and it had like the big, I don't know if you remember them, but it had like this big plastic bubble on the back kick. It was like an old fish board, so it's like pointed at the top. And it was square at the back. It only had one kick at the back.
Yeah.
And then it had like a big bubble, a plastic bubble underneath the kick, and it had all plastic around the sides. It was like this piece of wood covered in plastic, and that was my first like skateboard. And I remember my brother was doing it, and I just thought it looked so sick. Like I just thought it really looked cool the way that he was able to control the skateboard, and so I started doing it. And then I think my second skateboard was like a Spider-Man Kmart board.
Oh, yeah.
It was just went from there. It just kind of like grew. So, mum would take me and my brother and his friends to the skate park, and they'd all be doing like crazy stuff, and I'd just be rolling around the skate park, like just rolling up ramps and trying to get my feel for it, I guess. I didn't really know what I was doing.
I've like mucked around on skateboards, like I've never done any tricks or anything, but just getting your balance and like learning how to control it, because it's unlike any other like vehicle, I guess, if you want to call it that. There's no handles, there's no steering. It's all with your feet.
And your weight. I think so it's kind of like center of balance is key. And the one thing I love about skateboarding is the things that it's taught me. It's kind of like branched out to all other parts of my life. So like no, you're right. So like really balance. Okay. And keeping myself centered. Okay. At all times.
Not always just physically, but mentally.
And spiritually as well. And like, being present at all times, because you can't just like take your mind off the ball for a second, otherwise you're on your ass. And but also like the whole stacking, like you're gonna stack. Like you try like, I don't know, you try one thing like 50 times before you land it once. Sometimes even more. Dude, it took me like, I didn't start doing tricks until I was like in year 8. So I started skating when I was 8, but I didn't really start doing tricks until I was in year 8. Well, I say that because I couldn't kickflip until I was in year 8. So I remember when I was young, it took me like 2 years to learn how to ollie. So it's really like, you have to be so dedicated to it. And so it's like, you're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna fall over. And it really taught me, like, doesn't matter how many times you fall, as long as you just get back up, keep trying. Like, so for me, that kind of idea, beliefs kind of just like what's the word, kind of just like formed my shape of reality and the world, and my understanding of like just determination. So the best tip I can give anybody trying to learn how to skate: learn how to fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And take it.
Yeah. And learn how to fall in a way where you can come out of that situation with the minorest of the smallest injury. Like, just there's certain ways where you can like shift your weight, so it's not just like these days I pancake, right? Because I'm 28. If I stack on my skateboard now, I'm not like a little kid who bounces off the like I'm rubber, right? Yeah. So it's just like pancake. So I really try to like put my hands down and commando roll out of that, just to And that way it's not it's not putting just straight weight on any of my body, right? It's like transferring that pressure, that weight, or that force through the whole body. By rolling out, it's given you that ability to transfer that weight and move that energy rather than just blunt impact. And so, yeah, that's why I say the best thing you can do is learn how to fall and be willing to fall, because that's what's going to happen.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
Can't get around it.
I've never really thought about that, bro. But since you say that, because I'll watch skateboarding videos on like reels and stuff quite often.
Yep.
And they always kind of like they go quite a far distance when they stack and they roll a bit. And I always just thought it's because they were going so fast. But it's intentional to try and just spread the weight out.
Yeah. It's like these dudes who are like hitting like crazy sets and like crazy handrails, or crazy drops, crazy gaps, any of that stuff. They have years and years of practice of falling. And the funny thing about the skate videos and the skate reels you see on the internet, you don't see all their attempts. You only see the land. You know what I mean?
So they seem really good, and they probably are a lot of the time. But there's a lot of perseverance and failure that comes before that.
Yeah, I think Ryan Sheckler.
Okay.
He, big skateboarder. I don't know, life of Ryan, especially in his younger days, he had a massive career. But he just released a skate part, and he's he's getting up there, bro. I think he's late 30s, or he's somewhere in his 30s. And the bales that he was taking for that skate part were just so gnarly. He's just putting his body through hell, really. And me and my friend were talking about this. My best friend Ty, shouts out to Skate Fiend on Instagram. But he is one of the craziest skateboarders I know, and he's just so willing to break himself off, and that's what it takes. But the thing that we were talking about is how it's crazy how the skateboarding industry and the skateboarding companies and the brands really treat people like they're disposable. As long as you're a face for the brand, sweet. You stack, you hurt yourself, you do a life injury, well, you don't get payouts. You don't. Skateboarders don't get paid that well. They really put in their bodies on the line for these companies that actually don't give two craps about them. And that's the crazy thing, I guess, about skateboarding is it's not like a everyday working job where you go to work and you get paid just for coming into work. It's there's no workers' comp either, so you break yourself off. There's no lifetime payment. It's
how do you go about making a career of skateboarding? I assume it comes from competitions and things like that.
So I don't know if you've heard of Kieran Woolley. So he's a local skateboarder from Wollongong, actually.
Oh, cool.
And was sponsored by Independent. He was over in America. He's skated in the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if there was a viral video of one of the skateboarders at the Olympics knocking over the cameraman.
I don't know. I don't think I saw that. Yeah.
Well, that was him.
Wow.
And dude, he's just a top of the line shredder, bro. Dude's crazy, bro. The stuff he does, and it's so it's competitions. I guess now that we got it there, the Olympics.
Yep.
There's things like what's it called? SLS, I think, Street League.
Okay.
Which is it's just one of these biggest competitions. One of the biggest skateboarding competitions in the world. Then you got things like X Games. And so the way that you usually make a job out of it is you go to these competitions, and you're wearing the company's brands, right? So if you're front stage, front and center, and you're rocking Nike or whatever, or there's even Asics now have skateboarding shoes. So yeah, and it was just it's fronting for these brands, getting pictures in magazines Thrasher, things like that. So it usually starts off in a small way. So for example, my mate Ty, he was what's called on flow for Vans. So he was putting up Instagram clips pretty constantly, and because he kind of had a bit of a social presence, they would give him free skate shoes. They would send him free shoes.
Nice.
And then so after you've done that for a while, you kind of move up the ranks to an AM, which is like amateur. And then that's when you're in like competitions.
Okay.
And then once you turn pro, that's like, you know, full skate parts for full skateboarding video parts for companies. So like things like I think New Balance, the shoe, they have a skateboarding company, and they just released a whole skate part. So all the dudes who are on the New Balance skateboarding team, they just release a skate video.
Okay.
And it's usually on YouTube. And yeah, it's just these dudes hucking themselves down some gnarly stuff. Like, and the crazy thing about it is they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
The way they make skateboarding look so easy, and then you go and you know, you're like, dude, that looks so easy. I might go to the skate park and try that. And then you get there and you're like, what am I doing? Like,
even just dropping in is like the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. My brother, he got me to drop in on a big ramp for the first time, because I was at the old PCYC. At Revilla.
Okay.
So if you know Wollongong, like Revilla, there was a PCYC. There was this like metal half pipe, right? If you went to PCYC on a hot summer's day, bro, that half pipe would burn you, like legit. It was that hot. Melt your skin kind of hot. And anyway, we were there one day, and my brother's there, and he's like, yo, if you drop in, I'll give you $10.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I was up there for about 10 minutes, and I dropped in, and then he's like, I'm not giving you $10. And I was like, what? And he's like, bro, you can drop in now. You don't need $10.
Yeah. So, man, that's crazy. I used to ride, don't give me shit for this, please, but I used to ride scooters.
Yeah, that's right,
when I was a kid. You know, I know scooters are not like looked down upon, but it's definitely an easier option.
It's kind of like the bodyboarders of the ocean, right?
I was a bodyboarder too.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I wish I could surf, but
same. Can you imagine that feeling? I think I was talking to this guy Bluey about it. He's also in the comp, and he was talking about like the flow state, right? Like when you're freestyling.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, like I can imagine it's like gliding through a wave when you're surfing that barrel, you know what I mean? And like the sun's in the right spot. It's all like going in slow-mo. The water's like splashing in your face just a little bit, you know, like that feeling. Yeah, like I've never done it, but like you can imagine. And that to me is like what the flow state seems like as well. It's just that you're just so focused and you're just so in the zone, you know.
I've always wanted to get into a green room.
Oh, yeah.
The barrel.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
But I was gonna ask you. Sorry to jump back to skating.
No.
But right. I was gonna ask you. Did you ever play Tony Hawk Underground 2?
I played all the Tony Hawks.
Yeah. Which one was your favorite?
Definitely Tony Hawk's. It's hard, but Tony Hawk's Underground, Tony Hawk's Underground 2, and Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
Ooh, that one was good.
They were all like good. And the crazy thing about Tony Hawk's is actually that built like majority of my music taste.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's got a very street style music. I've been playing Underground 2 because the thing is, right, I could very easily get addicted to playing games.
Yeah.
So I've uninstalled all the games off my computer so I can't get distracted. The only thing I keep on there is Tony Hawk Underground 2. So that if I'm ever like just like, no, I need a break, I'll just put on some music and I'll play that. Or I'll listen to the music on there. And they've got a lot of hip hop on there. Like they've got Sugar Hill Gang and stuff. Yeah. It's so cool, man, you know, dude, just playing that game.
Yeah, they even had like I think they do have a song by MF Doom, I'm pretty sure, in Tony Hawk's Underground 2.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's or maybe it's Tony Hawk's Underground. It's it's got Aesop Rock on it, MF Doom, and I think Atmosphere, and it's like boom, dun, dun, trapped in the video game. Anyway, it's I think it's something to do with being trapped in a video game, and it's actually quarter up. Quarter up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's like a 25-cent piece, quarter.
Nice.
Quarter up. Put your quarter up. Yeah, it's sick. But yeah, it's like that kind of really influenced my music taste, and even every time someone says Tony Hawk's Underground 2, I think of that spot at the start where Bam and Tony are like picking his teams, and Bam's like, do I want the noob or do I want Polly? Wizard Fury Riot. No more grinding on wood chippers, huh, Polly? Yeah, that's right. Straight, like, every time.
Yeah. Bro, you know, I didn't know, because when I played Underground 2, I was a kid the first time. And I hadn't seen Jackass or anything like that, so I didn't know who he was. Bro, I didn't realize that was Bam until I was an adult. Like, until I went back and played it like a couple of years ago.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so into Viva La Bam and like all that stuff. But yeah, Tony Hawk's, all the skaters on there, like they're just OGs. Like I think Eric Costin was my favorite skateboarder as a kid. Until I realized that he was like a bit of not a nice dude. I heard he like stashed some kid in his trunk at a skate comp or something.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Far
Who knows?
out.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, yeah, those games, bro. They're just like, I spent so much of my life on those games. Like I'd go and clock the story mode on easy, then I'd do it on medium, then I'd do it on sick, and I just go back to those games, and like, yeah, Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2 were definitely those for me.
You can replay it so many times.
Yeah.
I like, whenever I jump on there, I just start a new game. I usually do classic mode, and I just go on there, and if I haven't played for a while, I'll do it on normal. If I've been playing a bit, I'll do it on sick, and I just play it. Like I said, I put on music, or I listen to music on there, and I just fucking play it, and it's just every single time. It's amazing.
The thing for me is though, like, I always appreciate those games, but then Skate came out, and it just completely changed like the whole like skateboard gaming industry. Like the fact that you could actually like control the skateboard and the feet with the sticks, and then freaking they brought out a session, or it's called Skater XL, and it's like your triggers are both feet, so it's like to do an ollie you got to like pull back and then flick up. It's like full just like changed it. I remember playing skate for ages, coming back to Tony Hawk's and just been like, yo, what? Oh yeah, X square.
Yeah, it's very simple, isn't it?
But it's sick though.
I was gonna ask you, because I've heard people make the argument that Tony Hawk Underground 2 kind of gave like a very false impression of how easy skating was, because it is quite easy and it's simplified in the game, but I mean, in my opinion, like that's what games do. Like there's war games and stuff where it's like easy, like it's not like that in real life, you know. That's part of it being a game. But I just wondered what your take on it was, you know.
Well, to be honest, like in Tony Hawk's, one of my favorite memories, right, is in Tony Hawk's Underground. One of my favorite memories from those games, and like you're on top of this building, and like your filmer's trying to get this clip of you, and you're like do this Mick twist over a helicopter, and like it's like, who doesn't want to jump over a helicopter or a skateboard? Who doesn't want to jump over a building? Like it is that whole like the over the topness about it that makes it cool. And then like, you know, Sam Sparrow, who's meant to be a mate or whatever, no, Eric Sparrow, who's your mate or whatever, steals your trick in Tony Hawk's Underground 1. So you go to this video premiere, it was like your ender trick or whatever for your company, and then your mate like steals the trick, and then he gets all the glory for the trick. True. Which is like, yeah, in the Underground, I remember how cut I felt about it. I was like, oh yeah. But the thing for me is like it's actually made that game so sick, because like it also, as a kid, though it like was like, oh, like what, you can jump over buildings, you can ollie over a car. Having that imagination and actually going onto the skateboard myself, I guess it kind of like opened up my mind to a lot of things as well. Like, oh, maybe I could try this or do something like this. I remember when I had like this Toyota Corolla, and it was at the old Shell Harbour skate park, and I drove my car onto the skate park just so me and the boys could do tricks from the roll-in over my car. And feel like we're like, you know, skating my cars. Because it's just like that over exaggeration of reality in that Tony Hawk's game makes it fun. But when you go to the complete opposite end, which is what Skater XL is, where you're using both controllers, both sticks to do your tricks, you can spend like as you do on a skateboard, like half an hour at one spot trying one trick because it's so intricate. So I think people who skate,
Yeah.
they adore that because it's like, oh, it's not just like easy. It's actually kind of has the same feel that skateboarding has, where it's actually challenge. Whereas I think with the over exaggeration that you get in Tony Hawk's, that appeals to the masses because it's like, oh yeah, like who doesn't want to be able to ollie over buildings, right?
And it's like, yeah, part of like game design is you want to design it to be just challenging enough to feel rewarding when you get past it, but easy enough that like most people could enjoy the game. And I actually, because Tony Hawk Underground 2, like it's a pretty old game now. So I was thinking, like, I was playing it heaps a while ago, and I was thinking, oh, there's got to be a new game out there that's like similar but has the updated graphics and mechanics and things like that. And I don't know if it was Skater XL, but it was very similar to how you're describing, where it was so intricate, and it was like I tried to just do an ollie and I just kept falling over. And like for
Sounds
me,
like Skater XL.
It didn't appeal at all. I just got rid of the game straight away. I was like, no, I'm not going to play this again, man. Like,
I think it's called like Skater XL Session or something. It's got like 2 names it goes by.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge. Like it's but I think that game was more catered to skateboarders because like shouts out again to Skate Fiend, but my homie Ty, like he did his ankle. He did his knee when he was down in Melbourne. And so to kind of relieve that pain from not being able to skate, he was playing Skater XL. Because it is the same challenge that skateboarding is. It's really on that same level, but it gives him that satisfaction of, oh, it's not just easy. It's like it's a really challenging.
And he would understand, like being someone that is a skater and kind of going into it, you've already got that understanding of how you want to move the board and where your weight needs to be. It's just about transferring that from where it normally is in your feet and your legs, I imagine, into your thumbs, right? Yeah.
Well, it's all leg. Like, look at me, bro. I'm lanky up here and all my muscles in my legs, bro.
Right.
From years of skateboarding.
So you do heaps of skating still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least, like this past couple of weeks have been a bit lazy, but at least I try to get like at least 2 days in at least a week where I'm like out having a couple of hours sesh, just because it's like I want to be 60 and still rolling around at the skate park, like because it's like there's just I forget, right? It's so natural to me. Like skateboarding is so second nature to me that I forget that some people can't even balance on a skateboard. But being able to control something like it's my body, but it actually is not a part of me at all, it's actually really sick. Like being able to have that control over an inanimate object and being able to control my weight in time and space. Like when you're in the air, it's like, you don't want to be leaning too far this way, you're going to fall. You're going to want to lean too far that way, you're going to fall. So it's like you really have to be consciously aware of what's going on at all times. And I think that's what draws a lot of people into skateboarding, because you can't be focused on anything else. You just have to be focused on that then and there. Like,
it's probably like meditation in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it would give you some of the same benefits.
Yeah.
Putting yourself in that state of mind. And it's just, that practice of focus, and it's almost, I can imagine like you've had a horrible day or a horrible week, like work is stressing you out or this or that. And like you go to the skate park, you're there. Like, do you listen to music when you do it, or you fully?
Yes and no. Sometimes I find I have better skates. I'll get more, what's the word? Well, not all the time, but I find I'm more focused when I'm listening to music and skating.
That's
because
what
then I'm in my own world.
Yeah, it just shuts everything else out.
Yeah, but at the same time, that can be a con, especially when you're at the skate park, because there's always things going around you. It's sometimes good to not have your headphones in, because then if someone's coming up behind, say you're walking up to like the top of the ramp and there's someone coming behind you, you hear it. But also, skateboarding is a community thing. So, you can rock up to the skate park with a skateboard, and I see it happen a lot actually. A lot of people come and they're a little bit intimidated because they're like, oh, I don't have the skill to skate, but it doesn't matter, bro. Like the skateboarding community will really take anybody on board, and it's kind of like, well, skateboarding was started by the nerds and the weird dudes. It wasn't like this cool thing. It has become this cool thing now, but skateboarding was started by nerdy dudes who were just trying to push the boundaries of physics and like,
Interesting.
also it was actually started by surfers in
Right.
California.
Okay.
It doesn't really have a concrete origin
Okay.
because it was just so widely spread. It was actually started by surfboarders who couldn't surf when there was no waves.
Oh, right.
So they like got skates, like the 4-wheel skates,
Yeah.
and put them on planks of wood and would
That's
use those
crazy.
to get around. It's like concrete
That's so cool.
surfing,
Yeah.
or they'd use it to get to and from the beach. So it kind of originated somewhere around California.
Do you know how long ago that was?
Bro, like I know I'm so wrong, but I'll take
Yeah.
a stab in the dark and say
Okay.
about the 70s.
Okay. Wow. So it's not even that old.
Nah.
It's about the same age as hip hop.
Oh, nah. Hip hop's
Okay.
older.
Hip hop's older.
Hip hop's
Okay.
old. Hip hop's like 1940s.
But hip hop is 50 this year, no?
I think official hip. Oh wait.
Right. Are they talking about like when they're putting it out into the mainstream?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I could be wrong, but I believe I think they're talking about the date, the official date. That Kool Herc did the disco
Right. Okay.
somewhere in the Bronx.
Mm.
He held his disco, and I think that marks the date that hip hop was born.
I guess I probably should have looked
But-
into it as well.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could be
I mean,
so
you're a
wrong.
rapper and I've got a hip hop podcast and neither of us know. But there's probably people listening thinking these fucking guys like,
It's Kool Herc. I know Kool Herc started it.
well, you know more than me. Because I don't know. I always wondered, like, they say, oh, hip hop's 50 this year. And I always just thought, like, how do they know that? Because, like, how do they know that someone wasn't in their, like, garage with their mates, beatboxing and rapping 10 years before that they say it started?
Yeah,
You know
so
what I mean?
that's why I said I think it really I think it has its origins in like the 40s, 50s, and then it like kind of like I think the date that solidifies it is the date that Kool Herc held the school disco.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Because he started, and this is what sucks so much about rap music today is that the DJ's forgotten about, you know, because the
yeah.
DJ was like a fundamental one fundamental part of the 4 elements of hip hop, and not a lot of people know what that is either. The 4 elements. So
What
you
are
got
the 4 elements?
the DJ,
Yeah.
so the dude on the vinyls, the MC, who's the rapper or the master of the ceremony, and then you got the graffiti artist, and b-boy.
B-boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So breaking.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. See, yeah, that's interesting because breakdancing and graffiti, at least in Australian hip hop culture, I don't know how much of a role. I imagine it played a huge role in other countries too, but like in Australian hip hop culture, breakdancing and graffiti were like just as much part of the culture as hip hop music
Yep.
itself.
Yep.
But we don't see that today.
Yeah, well, I think that like these communities are still around, but they all seem like they've just kind of like, if I can try to put it in a good analogy, it's like there's been so many babies that have formed out of these 4 places that the family has kind of become disconnected. The generations
That's a really
have
good way of
disconnected.
putting it.
Because like there's still a massive graffiti scene.
Yeah.
There's still a massive breakdance, like a break. It's called breaking. To call it breakdancing is kind of like, ugh.
Okay.
But it's so yeah, breaking is still there. Like I remember I went into Sydney and I was walking through Circular Quay, and near one of the museums there's just a bunch of b-boys just breaking, and I'm just like, what is this? I was like walking with my friends to a gig, and I just ended up like breaking off with my friends, and I'm just standing there being like, yo, this is sick.
Yeah.
This is sick. So that's still there. Yeah, the MC is still there, but we just call him a rapper, I guess. And then, yeah, the DJs kind of just like full fell off. So,
I mean, DJs are still like, there's still a big community of DJs today,
yeah.
but it's very separate from hip hop.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was a point Like I was making my own beats before mines, but they were very like stock standard, just composing on Fruity FL Studios, Fruity Loops, just playing piano and whatever, with different plugins. But to me, it wasn't hip hop until I had a DJ. That's how much I appreciated the culture. I didn't feel like I was even doing hip hop until I had a DJ. And so Mines for me was probably one of my favorite projects. Like there's one album out and I'm still sitting on a second album. I've been sitting on it for a couple of years now. But DJ Helix, shouts out to him. It was actually funny how we met. He released an album with a bunch of other MCs from all around, mostly the Blue Mountains in Sydney.
Yep.
He was from the Helensburgh, and he played a gig at a place called Rad Bar in Wollongong. And I went and seen him perform one night, and I was like, "Yo, like, could we make music together?" And he turns to me and he goes, "Nah, sorry, bro, I've got too many MCs."
True.
And I was like, "Oh, that's all right, bro. Like, is what it is." And then, whatever, I went and did my own thing. I was making music, and I didn't have a studio at that time. And I went to my friend's house, Agro. His name was Braden, and I started really just recording music there. And I was doing something similar to Doom, where I just write a bunch of rhymes, and then I just squish them all together, make a song out of it, right?
Yeah.
And he came and seen one of my performances, and there was like 2 songs where it was weird because though these rhymes were like mixed and matched and put together, I think I just must have been on the same train of thought. They just kind of like all made sense. It wasn't like, whoa, where's that one from? But anyway,
that's cool that it worked out like that.
Yeah, he came and seen me perform, and then he comes up to me after the show and he goes, "Hey, bro, like you're a really good MC. You want to make music together?" And I was like, cool. "Yeah, sure, let's do it."
That's cool. That's really cool to see it come back around as well. And he already knows that you're interested in him.
Well, he actually forgot who I was. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of even
I remembered
better.
him.
That's almost better because it's like he's not even thinking like, "Oh, I remember." Like it's just like a completely organic.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And so, yeah, it was for me. I was just like, yes, let's make music together.
That's awesome.
So, then we formed Mines, and it was really cool because through that whole process, he was the only one that only DJ I knew that was scratching vinyl. And we would make beats together. So he showed me how to sample vinyl. He showed me that process, which I'm so grateful for because I still use that process to this day. And so he showed me how to do that. And what we do is we take one sample, and he'd cut it up the way that, or resequence it, or cut it up the way that he thought, and then I'd do it as well. So we do about 2 of those each, which means that for every song we have about 4 different patterns or sequences, and then we just stick them together, and it just worked, bro. Like a lot of the guys that he had before were like really wordsmiths, more the whole like They were good, but they were more just about the flow and the style. Where I was always, even when I wasn't in my faith, I was always there with the message, because to me, it's one thing. I wanted to always have flow and message. I didn't want to sacrifice one for the other. I kind of wanted both.
Yeah.
And so with Helix, it was really cool to make something that had a lot of meaning to it, and yeah, I really loved Mines because that in itself, it was like one mind, like one mind. That's one cool. Consciousness, one world, one people, and like it was just it felt so good jumping up on stage and having a DJ just like scratching up behind me. I was like, like, damn, bro, like I wanted this for so long.
Yeah.
It's a dream come true. And it was
it's
just
like
so wholesome.
entirely your music as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And you're putting it out to people and
Yeah.
people are resonating with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a beautiful thing, you know. And this is what, like, if you ever meet this mate of mine, Trilogy, you need to fucking hear his freestyles and you need to tell him that he's good, because he's so
Trilogy,
good,
you good
man.
lad. I know it. I can feel it already.
He is, bro. He's so good. After this, I can show you some of like his
Yeah, yeah.
freestyles and
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
And it's just like you know, I keep saying to him, like, you need to like close your eyes and picture yourself being on stage, putting out one of your freestyles that you've prepared, and people going like, I fuck with that, and like people cheering for you, because like he's so good, but he just doesn't see it as impressive. And I think, I don't know exactly the reason that he hasn't like gone into it fully yet, but I know he'd love it. I know he'd love it.
So I don't know if he writes much. No.
Just freestyles.
So if you do want to keep your lyrics and remember them, and you do make music, something I've found, if ever I've freestyled a track and really liked it and come back to it, I actually listen to it and write it down and write my lyrics down, and then I have them there, I save them. So that way it's concreted. It's set in stone and it's concrete. Not that you have to do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Little Baby freestyles all this stuff, and who knows whether he writes it. But it's like, yeah, that for me is where I started. I actually started freestyling over YouTube beats in my mate's garage, and that we were just having fun. And like, that's where it all started for me. And that was like when I was like 17, I think. And my mate who I was freestyling with is now like, he doesn't really rap or anything, but I just kept going. I just knew that I was like, I don't mind what happens. I don't really like, it's not that I don't care about anybody or anything, because I do a lot, but more or less it's like I wanted to stick it out, because I never wanted to, and this is what I'd give as inspiration to anybody, or just a bit of freaking advice, is that it is better to freaking give it a go and fully suck at it and fall on your ass, just like skateboarding, than it is to sit back, twiddle your thumbs, and then years later be like, oh, but what if?
Yeah.
What if I just did?
I couldn't agree more.
Just do it.
Yeah, 100%. Just fuck. Sorry, I know you don't like swearing.
No,
but,
that's all right, bro.
but just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it, and that's exactly right. And like, man, Nike hit the nail on the head with their logo, because it says, with their whatever you call it, like the little thing that they say, which is just do it, because it's like, it says so much and it can be applied to so many contexts. But in terms of something that you want to do, and wondering like, oh, you know, like, what if people don't like it, or what if I'm no good, or what if I fail or something, but it's like, who gives a shit, man? Like, what have you got to lose?
And honestly, like, even if you're really good at it, people are going to hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you're really good at it, people are going to love you.
Yep.
So people are going to judge you no matter what you do. People are always going to point the finger at you. People are always going to judge you. So you may as well just do it and go for gold. Because at the end of the day, the thing I've learned as well is people only really talk crap on people that they are intimidated by.
Yep.
You never hear someone who knows that they're better than somebody else, or who knows that they are more skilled, being like, oh yeah, that guy, who does he think he is? It's always about the people that are like, they feel intimidated by it. That's who they talk crap on.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, it's like, dude, like, at the end of the day, even me, I'll be freestyling some days and I'm just like, man, I'm sick of my voice.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's better to go. It's better to give it a go. And especially if there's a message there, if there's a deeper reason than just the money, than just the fame, than just something. If there's something that you want to say to the world, like, do it.
Yeah.
Because we can't change the world, but we can change ourselves which inevitably changes the world. Because if we change how we react to stuff and change how we go through situations, that's how we change the world. Because then people look at it and they're like, oh, there is another way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, you know, that's what I found a lot as well. Like even being a bit political in my earlier stuff, still am a little bit today, but it's like you can always point the finger and tell people they need to change, but literally no one really knows how to do it. So if you're standing up and enacting that change in your own life, you're giving other people the chance to see it and how to overcome it. So an example, my DJ, right? DJ Helix, I lived with him and his partner. And like I was pretty lazy. I was like a stoner. I'd skate, but I was just always chilling. And I remember like he used to eat really bad. Like I'd go over his house, and we'd just get Chicos, which is like deep fried food. Yeah,
Chicos in Wollongong. And have you? Sorry, we'll get right back to it. But have you been there recently?
Yeah.
Don't you think it kind of sucks now?
Yeah. Well, I actually haven't been there recently. My best friend Ty, I went to the skate shop, and I was meant to meet him there because we were going to go skating. And I was like to Marlon, the shop, the dude who's working. I was like, dude, where's Ty? And he's like, he's in the toilet. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm just chilling in the skate shop. About 5-10 minutes passed, and I'm like, dude, where is this guy? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He calls me and he's like, hey, bro. And I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, have you got any water, man? And I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
I'm like, yeah, bro. He's like, man, can you bring me some water? I'm like, yeah, dude. No worries. I walk into the toilet because, you know, who cares? It's your mate, right?
Yeah.
I walk into the toilet. He's sitting there, bro. He's like sweating, bro. He's like this. He's like... He's just full sweating, bro, and like dripping sweat. And I was just like, bro, what's up? And he's like, I ate Chicos.
Oh, no.
He's like, I think I got food poisoning.
Damn.
And ever since, I just haven't gone back. Yeah. So it's gone downhill.
It has.
Maybe it's changed owners.
Well, I think someone was telling me that something like that happened. They sold or something, and it's all changed. Like, you know, you used to walk into the shop. It was this big shop.
You don't go in there.
You can't even go in there now.
Yeah, I think that's COVID.
Oh,
I think
right.
COVID changed that up because I swear they did that during COVID, and then it just never went back. Yeah, because
I went down there. I think it was for yours and ours during COVID. You know, the seated one they had, and I went down there with some mates, and I was like, we were staying like near Chico's, and I was like, guys, I'm telling you, the best chicken shop in the world, like it's Chico's. We got to go there for lunch, and they were like, oh yeah, whatever. But I talked them into it. They agreed to it. We went down there and we got it, and it was like not even that great, and they all just gave me so much shit for it. They're like, man, like we all wanted
talked it up.
Yeah, they all wanted sushi or dumplings or something. I was like, no, you got to try this, and it was just crap. And I was like, oh man, you know. But
boys.
Yeah, but you were talking about DJ Helix.
Yeah,
you were living with him.
So yeah, before I lived with him, we were making beats. We'd go to Chico's. Every time I'd go over there, we'd make music. We'd go get Chico's. Anyway, I moved in with him and Kira, his partner.
Yep.
And this is a funny thing as well. It's really hard to maintain productivity when you move in with the person you want to make music with. So I was always like, oh, bro, we should make music today. I was on his back a bit. But anyway, he stopped eating crap and he started eating organic food.
Okay.
So, or just more clean food as well, like a lot more fruit and veg. I'd always eaten fruit and veg, but for me, it just kind of created a ripple effect. So back to what I was saying about, you know, being the change you want to see. That the change that he was making and that we were all making to change our diets and our food became like this ripple effect. And then he started running. He started going for runs. The dude ran from like our place in Fig Tree all the way to Port Kembla Beach.
Wow.
Which is like, I think like, I don't know, it's like 14, maybe more. It's definitely, I think it's 14. I think it's more than 14 Ks. But anyway, he ran that whole thing.
Nice.
And I was like, that's gnarly. And that was sending ripples because I was like, dude, like, it made me think like, oh, well, am I taking care of myself?
Yeah.
No, I could be taking so much better care of myself. And that's what I mean. When you got like an example there to look at and to see, then you can be like, oh yeah, like I could be doing that too. Whereas when everybody just talks about change, nothing gets done. So yeah, being that change you want to see. And yeah, that living with him, bro, is probably one of the coolest experiences and people I've lived with ever.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was you know how sometimes you can live with people and just doesn't feel like a homely space.
Yeah.
That was such a homely space.
Nice.
You know, it's cool. We just vent, talk about anything, but yeah, we really made each other grow. And that was what was awesome. And that was because we both wanted to change.
Yeah. That's so special when you meet someone at that point in your life where, you're looking for the change and so are they, and you can help each other with that, you know. And it's like, for me, in my journey, a lot of my life, and this is not to put anything on anyone else because I was exactly the same. It was just like this pit of self-destruction and like encouraging the same for your friends. You know what I mean? Like, oh, come on, you won't have more, like, or you won't do this or you won't do that. And then like you're like feeding into it, you know. And it took me so long to realize, and it was partly by luck that, you know, during COVID, this and that happened and I moved to Sydney and then meeting some different people and I started doing like what you're talking about. Like, you know, I started like, oh, like you feel so much happier and better if you eat better. And like, if you just work out and just go to for me, it was the gym, you know, but if you cardio, like whatever you want to do, if you're active and you're doing something, like, not only is it boosting your self-esteem because you're proud of yourself, you're like, hey, like I did a good thing today, but the endorphins you get from that, the physical differences when you look at yourself and you go, hey, I'm happier with how I look. And then exactly what you're saying, you know, and there was a couple other friends of mine that from that group that also moved to, one went to Wollongong and here and there, and they started doing the similar things. The ones back home, they start looking after themselves too, because exactly like you're saying, they're seeing like, oh, just a little while ago he was exactly where I am and now look what he's doing. And you can be that positive role model, and that's the best way to help your friends. I think, you know, and
just make change in the world is not talk about it, but be the change
to do it.
And it's just like it's crazy what can happen, and in the sense, but when you this is something I don't know that a lot of people get. Or maybe they do and they just don't care. But especially a lot of people who take the stage nowadays and on the radio and all that jazz, it's like, do they know that there's like children watching them? Do they know like that whether they like it or not, that they are role models? And I think, you know, it's when you got songs like WAP, for example, and there's kids listening to that, it's like, bro, like it's honestly sad.
It is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Also, that the idea of self-destruction that is put onto us, I don't know where it really comes from, but it's like, I work hard all week, and so now I'm gonna wreck myself on the weekends. Like, where does that actually come from, bro? Like, you know, like alcohol's like ethanol, right? It's like freaking petrol, dude, and it's like, it's one of the worst things out there, and it's just like, Australia is known for cigarettes, alcohol, and bongs. Like, welcome to Australia, mate. Have a coldie. You know.
Well, it's that immediate. I think it's that immediate gratification, and it's that immediate escape. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not happy with your life and the direction that it's going, or where you are, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily your fault or whatever. I'm just saying, if you're in that position, it's very easy to just have a bong or have a few beers or whatever else you've got access to, and it's almost instantly, it just makes you feel better. So it's very tempting. And you don't think about, or at least for me, partly because I was younger too, like I didn't think about the destruction I was doing to myself in the moment. I remember a good friend of mine, Pun, you know, we lived together too and spent a lot of time together, and we did like a lot of drugs and stuff together, and for like, we were doing it for a long time. And then one day, and we both remember this was like 5 years ago, we looked at each other and I said to him, like, bro, like, I don't remember the last time I felt happy when I wasn't on drugs. And he's like, yeah, same here. And it's because it sucks it out of you, you know.
Well, it's a funny thing, actually. When you want the purest form of, say, weed, right? When you want the THC and you want that oil, what do you use to extract it?
You can use butane, you can use shellite, you can use a few things.
Yeah, basically straight alcohol, right?
Yeah, right. I get you.
It sucks the essence out of you.
Yeah,
It
right.
Sucks.
Or
it sucks the essence of the main thing out of that. So when you're constantly drinking, especially spirits, you're sucking. It's almost like you're sucking the essence of your soul out of you, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I think it's what is the essence of human? It's soul. What's like, and sorry to pull it back here, but man, when I learned the Hebrew word for soul, spirit, and wind means the same thing. Is ruach.
What is it?
Ruach.
I'm not going to try and pronounce
ruach.
that.
It's Ruahk. Ruach.
Okay. Yep.
And you think about that, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. And it's like, but what is that actually? Well, wind, spirit, breath, what do they all got in common? They're actually like a invisible energy that moves and actually has an effect, but is invisible. So the wind, it's invisible. You can see it move through the trees, but it's invisible. My breath, if I breathe on a glass window, I can see it, but it's invisible. It's an energy, because as soon as my breath stops, I stop, right? I can't be alive without the breath. And then, so the breath, wind, spirit, and it's kind of like the one word, ruach. And to me, that was just a beautiful thing to come across. I was just like, that's sick.
That's cool.
Because then it's like they're all in the one. They're all the same energy, but just different, like sort of different forms.
Different forms, yeah. That's cool. But yeah, bro, it's powerful to be that role model and that person for change. You know what I mean? And it's hard because there's a lot of people out there in the world that do struggle with addiction, that struggle with drugs, that struggle with that like need for escape. Yeah,
big time.
So where does that story start? Does that start when you were 14?
Nah, man, nah. Well, actually, yeah, it kind of did. But I think it started from a lot younger for me. So, I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
So I'm one of 5.
Yep.
None of my siblings really had the same dad.
Okay.
So my household as a kid was always kind of like a bit broken, I guess, to an extent. And it's like, it wasn't broken. I look back on it now and I'm so grateful for the family that I have, because even now I bring like my ex-partner into my family and she's like, whoa, the love in this family is just crazy. But it was like it was always dysfunctional, I guess. And so there was always a lot of arguments at my house. Like I was raised mostly single parent. So one mum working, providing, but also having to discipline and play that role as well. And when she was in relationships, there was usually like a little bit of abuse there.
Okay.
Not always physical, but mental. And so my household was just like always a fire zone.
Yeah.
So like it was like, sometimes I just didn't know if I was going to walk home and like come home from school, whatever. It'd be like a hectic day, and then I'd just be walking into this like just bombshell, right? And so skateboarding actually became my way of getting out of the house. So I spent a lot of time outside of the house on the street skating, and that's why I got so good at skating as well, because that was the way that I escaped. So I think the escaping started at a young age. But when I was 14, I was raised Christian, so mum took me to church every Sunday. And when I was about 14, I was going to youth. But I remember at school, my friend at the time, he packed me up like, it's just green nugs. We smoked green nugs through a can. Like just,
yeah.
And,
I remember that.
And I remember even before that, right? Like me and my mate at the time, Dylan, we're like, oh, we'll never smoke. Like we'll always be like, we won't smoke. And then I freaking hit the can buke, and then like boom, it was like it kind of just, I was like, whoa, what was that? It was like I was dreaming, but I wasn't dreaming. Like, and I'd never had a brownie that tasted so good in my life, right? Like this freaking, I used to take like a think it was like either a caramel slice or like a chocolate fudge brownie at school, whatever. And I had that, and I was like, bro, whoa.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so that kind of like kicked it off for me. And then I kind of got chronic, I guess, on the weed and stuff at like, I don't know, 16, 17. And that's when I started dabbling in a lot of drugs, like LSD. I loved LSD. Like when I first tried it, it was synthetic, but it just blew my mind. Hey, and I was just like, bro, like I think in the matter of like 2-3 months, I took it like 10 times in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And like, because I just really loved, like for me, it was like, I just loved hallucinating.
Yeah.
I loved being like out of my body. Like I liked like not fully being in control.
Yeah.
Like I really liked, I was kind of hoping for pink elephants, but it wasn't like that. For me anyway.
It's sorry to cut you off, but it's like, I remember my first experience with LSD, and it was both a little disappointing because there was no pink elephants, but also insanely mind-blowing because it was insane in a way that you could never imagine.
Yep.
You know,
can't explain it, right? That's what they say. But yeah, so that to me, I was like, oh, it just opened my mind, I guess. I was like, bro, like I feel like it just opened my mind. I was like, I want to open my mind more. And I just kept really diving into that because I started seeking answers, right? I was like, well, what is life? Like I remember from my young childhood and skateboarding and really getting like a first-hand glimpse of the world. Like I would travel up to Sydney and skate with my mates, or I'd just travel around and skate, and you kind of get a glimpse of the world while you're out and about. And I just remember thinking like, bro, why is there so much hate in this place? Like why is there so much, like we're just killing each other? Like it's crazy. We're killing each other, killing the planet. And anyway, so like I just really like to escape. I was just like, I just really wanted to figure myself out, right? But I guess the irony in acid and all these kind of drugs is that what I felt, looking back on it now, what I felt were realizations for me were actually kind of things that I already knew and I was just being reminded of because I'd forgotten about. And two is that the more you open your mind, in a sense, the harder it is to close.
Interesting.
So not in the sense of like I want to be closed-minded and not be open to anything, but in the sense of like if you're constantly opening your mind and constantly pulling myself apart, the thing I started to notice was how detached I started to become from reality.
Yep.
So I was like, I don't know, far out, maybe 20, 21. And I went to this hippie bush doof called Safari in about 2015. And it was like, I thought it was amazing. But it was basically like 5 days of like just this camping festival, all different types of music. I think it was like 3 or 4 stages, just lots of drugs, lots of hippies. It was weird. It was like a bartering community. So there was not a lot of money there. So like, you know, you'd trade but that was before my generation kind of got into the scene, which completely changed it. So this culture of what was like hippie culture seemed to be very much about just love and freedom and, you know, freedom in self and whatever. So, you know, it was like very loving culture. And I adored it. But like 5 days on drugs, bro, I came back and I remember saying things to my friends. Like my friends were so scared because I was saying things like, I'm never skateboarding again. I just realized how like destructive it was. And like, but in essence, I'd actually really just started to lose my grip on reality.
Yeah.
And so what tends to happen is the more you dive into that world, the more you do drugs, the more you kind of dive into that place, the more detached from reality you become. And I remember thinking, like, even at some points, the reason why I smoke weed is because I couldn't deal with reality. But the reason why I smoked weed was because I was addicted. And if I didn't have the weed, then I couldn't deal with reality, right?
Exactly. And every stoner will tell you that they're not addicted and that it's not addictive. But man, I was a stoner. It sounds like you were a stoner, and it's fucking addictive.
I don't think the substance as much is addictive. It's more the feeling of escape. So, and if you're mixing it with tobacco,
Oh yeah,
Extra, definitely addictive.
100%.
But yeah. So for me, it was just like, man, I seen like, for example, my friend, a really good friend of mine, he took mushies and acid at the same time at a Buschdorf, and I wasn't there. I was always like the nurturer. So like, you know, when anyone's tripping, I was always trying to make sure that like everybody was okay, and everybody was like, I don't know, everybody was like, I want to trip with you kind of thing. Because I was just like a nurturer, right?
Yep.
When it came
Yep.
to that. And so like, yeah, my friend, he went to this Buschdorf. I wasn't there. Not saying that that's the reason, but he took mushies and acid at the same time. He had like mild autism, and he never came back from that.
Wow.
Like in the instance of now, like he's has to be medicated all the time.
Wow.
He has to get injections all the time, and he just dissociates. Like I'll be sitting there in a conversation like this, and I'll be like, "Yo, dude, like, when did you get your hair cut?" And he'll just be like we're sitting there, we're hanging out,
Yeah.
and he'll just be like, I'm like, "Yo, wait, when did you get your hair cut?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Wait a second." I'm like, "Oi, dude, when did you get your hair cut?" And he's like, "Oh, what?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "When did you get your hair cut?" He's like, "Oh, a couple of days ago."
That's crazy.
And it's just like it's literally like he's just not there. It's like he's become like a vacant body,
Yeah.
almost. And what's
Do you
scary?
struggle to connect with him now? Like when you look into his eyes, like does it feel different? Like he's gone, or is it?
There's parts of him that are still there.
Yeah.
There's just small parts of him that are still there. It's not like he's completely gone, but he comes in and out of reality. And he's like, because he had mild schizophrenia as well. Like his schizophrenia is just off the charts now. So like, yeah, it's really hard, I guess, to see a friend go through that. But as I said, for me, I realized really quick that the more I dabbled in psychedelics, the more I dabbled in drugs, the further away I got from reality. And when you are outside the parameters of reality, you're basically talking gibberish to the whole world, right? You're like, no one understands you. Like I see it a lot. Like a lot of the things that I thought were like, that's it. That's the way I've worked it out. They were just so flawed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the concept of like, so even I've learned afterwards, like, you know, LSD, especially, like that stuff stays with you for life. Like once you take it, you're never the same. Like it, and I remember I was talking to my old man about it once, and he was saying that what he thinks now is with LSD that's different to when he was younger is supposedly, now I don't know how truthful this is, I ain't no scientist, but supposedly they use this stuff called strychnine or something, strychnine, anyway. And what actually happens is like you kind of die, right? But there's something in the acid, there's like another chemical in the acid that keeps your heart going. So like, but bro, I don't know how true that is.
That's fucking scary if that's true.
Yeah.
Is that like in the acid that back then or now?
Now.
Wow.
Now, which I guess it could be true because like a lot of the stuff is synthetic. Like for example, I took a lot of synthetic acid before I ever took real acid.
So synthetic acid being not coming from the ergot, completely synthetic.
Yeah. It's like 2CI.
Oh, yeah.
2CB.
Yep, gotcha.
All that jazz. Like,
well, the other thing with those is they've only been around for a small amount of time.
Yeah.
So we don't know what are the long-term effects. We really don't know what the side effects are at all.
Really, I mean, crack hasn't been around for that long, and we still don't know the side effects of that.
That's true.
But obviously you can see it. It's everywhere. It's on the streets.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just for me, it was like, it was weird. Out of my whole drug taking experience, I never really felt like I was ever that out of it that I couldn't actually control myself. You know what I mean? There was never an instance where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But then, so there was, so I think all that escaping, all that time wasting. I could have been reading books. I could have been like practicing the craft. I could have been like on my skateboard a bit more. Like you can do, and I see it happen to a lot of skateboarders. Like so many skateboarders have such sick potential, and then they meet weed and they smoke weed, and it's just like, I don't need to skate anymore. Like this is, and they just fall off. And it's like, yo, you know, you have that convo. Oh, how's so and so been? Like, I don't even know. I haven't heard from him in years. Yeah. And it's just like it's, for me, there was one experience that really turned my life around, and that was when I was like, I draw the line here. So, you know, I was stoner for freaking years, bro. So from 16, I was chronic. I'm now 28, so it's like good 12 years of being chronic.
Yeah.
Every day smoking. I had breaks where I'd have time off and tolerance breaks and come back. But for me, it was, I took, I don't know if you've heard of subs. So like a type of mushroom.
Yeah.
I think they're the strongest psychedelic mushrooms you can get. So me and my friend took 2.5 grams. And that was the equivalent of about 6 grams of like any other dosage, probably even more, because mushrooms are, the luck of the draw, I guess. Some can be, the smallest one can be so powerful, the biggest one can be weak. Like, it's the luck of the draw thing. And so yeah, me and my mate took 2.5 grams of that, and I'd never ever smoked before I peaked. I'd always like, I did on like acid once, and that was just crazy. Made me more paranoid. But so after that, I learned like I'll always wait till I've come down to smoke weed. But anyway, me and my mate smoked a big spliff before I peaked, and then last thing I remember is I was standing up and I was just like, I just have all this energy. I don't know what to do with it. I feel like I can't grab it. I can kick it, but I don't know whether I just have all this energy in me. And boom, blacked out.
Wow.
Yeah, I do not remember. I remember real small bits of reality, real small bits. But what kind of happened to me, I think the psilocybin coated all my nerve endings, which is, I think, what happens when you have a mushroom overdose.
Okay.
So it just covers all your nerve endings in psilocybin. So I was having an out-of-body experience.
So you can't feel anything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Out-of-body experience, right?
That's
Isn't that
crazy.
what an out-of-body experience is?
You
can't feel your body?
That's full on.
So what happened to me is that I felt like I was all of mankind in one time. I was like the whole of mankind in that moment. And I was like, what am I doing? And I was like, I'm killing people for my own profit, and I'm killing the world for my own profit. So it's like, in this whole dreamlike state, I was just thinking about how much we're killing each other and killing the world. It wasn't a pleasant experience as well. It wasn't. And then I woke up in hospital, and they must have given me like Seroquel or something. Like I just remember waking up so agitated. I was like, this is the last place I want to be.
Yeah.
And the doctor was like, telling me all this stuff. He's like, oh, you know, it took 4 police officers to hold you down. Like, they found you in a garden 6 houses up from where you were. You had grass in your mouth. You were running in and out of traffic. I'm just
what the hell?
I'm just like, yeah, all right. Like, I don't remember any of this.
That's
like
crazy.
And yeah, I'd never blacked out. I've never blacked out in my life.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And then so what had happened, like I heard a bit of the backstory from my mum. So me and my friend were at his fiance's parents' house when his fiance and his parents were away. So it was just us and the dog there.
Yeah.
Right. And so what had happened is, so because I do remember small snippets of reality from when I was in the state. And so I remember the cops pulling me up.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, I remember being on the ground and having them all on top of me, and me thinking like, oh, this is like I'm in a music video. And this music video is on police brutality. This is happening in my brain.
Yeah.
So I was just so out of it. And then, because I remember the lights from the cars like on me, and that's why I was like, "Oh, music video." Anyway,
Yeah, you thought it was the cameras.
yeah.
And the lighting.
I don't know what it was.
Crazy.
And then I remember being slipping all around the paddy wagon. So I got a scar, not that one, but this one here, just a little one, right there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was because when I was in the handcuffs in the back of the paddy wagon, I was trying to pull out of it so bad.
True.
I couldn't actually feel my thumb for like freaking a month or something after, right? And so while I was in my state, they were like, "Who can we call?" And I was like, "Trent, who's my brother." And but my brother's name wasn't Trent in my phone. It was like, "It's my brother."
Gotcha.
That's his name in my phone. So they called my friend Trent, who has like a wife and 3 kids. 11 o'clock at night, and he didn't have any way, so he contacted my mum through Facebook. Mum comes and grabs me. She comes to the hospital. She doesn't grab me. She comes to the hospital, and the cops are like, "Does your son smoke meth?" And Mum's like, "No, he does like psychedelics and weed, but he doesn't smoke meth." And she's like, "Well," they're like, "He's got the strength of like, he's got crazy strength. Like we couldn't hold him down." And she's like, "Maybe if I talk to him, he'll calm down." And they're like, "He won't, but you can try." So I open up the paddy wagon, and Mum was like, "Yeah, it's me. It's calm down, Josh. It's Mum, and it's all right." And then I was just looked through her, and said, "Who am I? What's going on?" And then like she wasn't even there. And then she's like, "All right, he's not there, whatever." But Mum knew that I was with my friend, so she was like, "Where's my friend?" She called the fiance, and was like, "Yo, where's so and so?" And she was like, she's at our house in Bulli. So Mum drove to Bulli. Now my friend, he had 2 of his friends pass away. One of his mates committed suicide. The other one was in an accident. So he'd already lost 2 of his closest friends. And so he thought he'd lost me. He thought he'd killed me. So he was like, "Nah, I'm done." He flipped up the whole house upside down. He flipped the kitchen inside out and set himself on fire, right? So the only reason why the whole house didn't go up is because the clothes that he was in front of on the door didn't catch. If they caught, the whole house would have went up. He would have been gone. So my mum went to the house, got him, seen him there. It was like smoke, covered. The whole house smelled like smoke. Got him up, took all his clothes off, whacked him in the cold shower, took him to the hospital. So the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, this happened, that happened, this happened." I'm just like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, I don't remember that. It didn't happen." And then after the doctor like went away, my mate came around the corner and he had bandages all over him. And then I was like, "Bruh, this is real, eh? Wow. This is real." Like, and then somehow I mustered up the energy to go to work that day, even though I was so drained. Oh yeah, I always went to work. Always went back to work, no matter what.
That's crazy.
Yeah, freaking. I was sitting at home in my studio 3 days later. So it wasn't like something had happened in that trip. It was like 3 days later, I'm sitting at home. And I remember thinking to myself, it hit me in the head like a brick, bro. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like legit. How many times do you have to go down these dead end roads to know that they're dead ends? You know they're dead ends. They have nothing to offer you except more confusion, more trouble, more grief. How many times do you have to go down it to realize that? And I was just like, yeah. I was like, man. And I just remember thinking like, when did I feel my most authentic self? Like genuinely, like I knew who I was and what I was doing, where I was going. And I was like, when I was a youth at church. So then I spent what has been the last 2 years coming back to God, like slowly, but surely. And I've been reading the Bible from start to finish. And now that I'm of a mature age, I freaking understand it. And things are just lining up and falling into place like crazy. Because the Bible isn't just some freaking like made up story where it's like, oh, this and that. Nah, the Bible is it's a bunch of stories that are all collected from all these different authors, all
Right.
over all of time that tell one long story.
Okay.
Right? So it's like the Bible is one of the only books in the world. It is the only book in the world. 1/3 of it is prophecy. So what that means is like 1/3 of it is God saying, this is what is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And majority of it's fulfilled.
Okay.
So a lot of what it said was going to happen has happened.
Right.
Yeah. And is still happening.
Yep.
Then, so like example, there was a book in Isaiah, which is a prophet from the Old Testament, Jerusalem, 500 years before Jesus, talks about this man coming. So I won't get too deep, but basically from the line of David, because the Bible follows like a family line. So Jesus is connected to this family line. It tells this man 500 years before he came. It speaks of this man coming. It says things like he will have no beauty that man should admire him. So he will not be like beautiful. That's why I strongly disagree with this image of Jesus that we have with this white dude.
Right, yep.
He definitely wasn't European, Middle Eastern, hook nose like a Jew. Like, anyway, it says that he would have no beauty that man would admire him. It says he will be the punishment of man's iniquities will be laid upon him. He will suffer. He will be a suffering servant. So basically, 500 years before Jesus' crucifixion and speaking, this prophet is telling it before it happened. 500 years before this dude comes. And then Jesus comes and fulfills that prophecy. So the Bible's full of prophecies like that, where it's like God says, this is what's going to happen, and then it happens. And so many things like that lined up. So many just little stories about the Bible in itself. Just, bro, like, people are like, oh, the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are completely different gods. Nah, dude. Like, the whole time, even in the Old Testament, God is saying to the Israelites and his people, like, please turn from your way, repent from your sins, turn to me. I will give you grace. If you repent and turn away from your sin, I will give you grace. And like, I will forgive you and you will be my people. I will be your God. So straight from the get-go, God's being like, bruh, like, I'm all about love and forgiving you, but you'll need to turn away from your sins. Because what was happening in the Old Testament, there was a god, an idol known as Baal, B-A-A-L, and people were worshipping him. The Babylonians, a lot of the surrounding countries and kind of like populations around the Israelites were worshipping these idol gods. And one of the things that Baal demands is child sacrifice. And there's a lot of like, sacrificing your own children to him, and then like just crazy like orgies and all that stuff. So these things were like, God was like, I don't want you to praise and worship me like these idol gods tell them people. Like, I made life. Why would I want to destroy it like that? Like, and so this whole way, it's just like God tries to use the Israelites as a reflection of who God is. So he's trying to use the Israelites in the Old Testament to reflect God to the people around them, so they can see what's separate from them and God, like what's different from these people, like the Babylonians and the Israelites. But they fail. They keep on failing. There is not one person in the whole Bible that could fulfill God's plan and fulfill his purpose for man. And the two greatest commandments, which they were, is love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and love thy neighbor as you love yourself. And if you do those things, then you're basically doing all that God asks of you.
Interesting.
But none of the Israelites, who were God's chosen people, couldn't even do it. No. All the great leaders failed. The only one who could do it was Jesus. And so, because Jesus was able to fulfill all those commands, he became the sin. He bore all the sin of man, so that at the end of the day, when we stand before God, because we're all going to have to stand before God and give him, stand before him and be judged for the way we lived our lives. So what Jesus did in taking on all of man's sin is that when God looks at me, he doesn't see me and all my sin. He sees Jesus, because Jesus stood in my place.
Right, gotcha.
Because Jesus was the only one who was perfect.
Right.
So what it is like, basically, God's pretty sad about the world at the moment, where it's going. I mean, the world saddens me, because when I look at it, it's all about money. It's all about sex. So Jesus kind of stands in our place, so that when we're at the end of the day, when our life comes to an end and we have to give a reason to God about why we lived our lives, then Jesus stands in our place. And so, yeah, it's like we do the good old switcheroo. And then it comes, it just comes back to that God's grace, man. It's amazing, but we have to be willing to admit that we're broken. And I guess, this world is broken, as we were just talking about. Like, Sound of Freedom, man. Like, the human trafficking, supposedly, over the last couple years, is the fastest growing industry in the world. Yeah.
Wow.
So human trafficking, it's had, I think it said it was like a 5,000% growth rate.
That's
in
insane.
over like a couple years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
5,000.
Yeah.
500 is timesing it by 5. That's 5,000 is timesing it by 50. It's 50 times as big as it was.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. And it's worldwide. Like, there was a woman that went to my mum's church, and she was saying that she used to work for Port Kembla wharfs, right? Just import and export. And she was getting told to turn a blind eye to certain shippings coming in. And she's like, "Nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Nah."
A lot of drugs come in and out of there too.
Yeah.
But I imagine human trafficking too.
Yeah, it's worldwide, bro.
Wow.
All over the world. And
That's
so
crazy.
when you start to see, like, how broken this world is, like, I mean, it's everywhere, bro. Like, it's getting into every nook and cranny of this world, and it really does show how evil this world actually is. Like, and it's what you've also got to be careful of doing is not getting so caught up in that rabbit hole that you become detached from reality and unable to function.
Yeah.
Because it's good to recognize the evil's there, so you're not ignorant to it.
Yeah.
But don't let it overtake you. Because I think the best thing that anybody can do in this world, the best thing that anybody can do is just live a life of love.
Yeah.
If you live a life of love, then, like, because I've had this conversation with my dad, right? You get those people who really dive into the conspiracy theories.
Yep. And
they're so stuck on it that they can't actually see that they're becoming the very hatred that the people that are, like, doing it is. So inevitably, when you fill yourself up with so much hate because of the hate that's in the world, you're becoming that very thing.
Become hateful yourself.
Yeah. So the only way to get around it is by loving, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's so true, bro. And that's so very important what you said, because I know I have people close to me in my lives and I love them very, very much, but they are so caught up in that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. And they look at me and they say, ignorance is bliss. Like, how can you not, like, look at this stuff? But, like, I am aware of it. But my thing is exactly like what you're saying. It's like, you can't let that consume you, because it will. If you let it, it will consume you. For me, what I try to do in my life is to be the best version of myself that I can, so that I can affect the people that I care about and other people around me in a positive way. And that's me doing my part to try and make the world a better place, because you can't get caught up on all that shit, because it's so hard to, like, process,
Yeah, because it's happening everywhere. Like, it's happening everywhere at an alarming rate. Like, I remember I wanted to major in philosophy at uni, but then I just dropped out because I was like, I don't need to think about thinking. I think about it enough. And you can logically tear down, like, anything. And also, it's like everyone has a knowledge bubble like this, right? So about that big. When you go and learn philosophy, your knowledge bubble gets to here. So when you start talking and articulating yourself in this way, you actually lose connection with the majority of people.
Interesting.
So I was very aware of that. And what kind of happened to me was, as I was going through philosophy and learning all these crazy concepts, I'll try to have a conversation with my friends and they just could not understand me. And I'm like, I don't want to get so deep into that I lose that connection. Because then I think, to me, my understanding is being a genius isn't knowing the big words and knowing the most. Being a genius to me is actually being able to speak really intricate, complex concepts in such a way that even the most simple mind can understand it. That to me is genius, because if you have all the knowledge in the world, but you can't explain it to a simpleton, what is it worth? It needs to be able to be understood. So
that's very true. And this is a little off topic, but someone that's really, really good at that is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
He's extremely good at, he's the astronomist, right? Wait, am I thinking of the right guy? You would know him if you saw him, and he's just so good. He's definitely not the smartest person in the world, but he's a scientist. But the way that he communicates that information is so captivating that, like, everyone listens. When he starts talking, everyone listens. And he's so good at explaining these big concepts about space and the universe to kids and stuff like that, and then explaining it to adults and explaining it to everyone, and it's like, okay, the people that are smarter than him that are also working on these concepts are very important too. But he plays an amazingly important role because he can understand those concepts and understand the things that a lot of people, myself included, struggle to. But then he can communicate that to us in a way that is so easy to digest. And he's captivating when he talks too.
And that's the beauty of it. Like, for me, with a lot of my hip hop and the taste and all, where I really like the monotone, relaxed, chill kind of voice. I've always liked that. And so when it comes to those dudes though who are like, and then you have this, and and you're just like, whoa, like, I'm engaged. Yeah, it's good. Keep it interesting and but yeah, it's like coming back full circle. So what I hope to do through my music is express the need for love, and the need for actually understanding. So like understanding love, and to me that comes down to understanding God, because to me there's no greater love than that. You might have a friend that might jump in front of a bullet for you, but how many people would die for random people they don't know?
Yeah, I would.
And that's exactly what Jesus did. He died for people where they're at now, full of whatever sin they're doing. Like, he died for those people he didn't even know.
Yeah.
And that to me was the beauty of it, is that God so loved, I think it's John 3:16. It says, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So what God's done is, he, throughout the whole Old Testament, he talks about this dude coming and fulfilling all the prophecies, and that was Jesus. Jesus came and he fulfilled all the prophecies in the Old Testament. All these, what some people would say is psychic, what are they called? Predicting.
Okay, yeah.
All the predicaments that God made, he fulfilled through Jesus. And that's what to me is beautiful, is that we turned so far away from God in our own sin to doing things like sacrificing our children to Baal. But in all of that, God was still like, bro, just please come back to me. Come back and love me. Like, I'm reading Jeremiah at the moment, which is another prophet. And he's saying things like, oh, Israel, how you've played the whore. Because when God made the covenant with them, that's like a marriage between God and man. And we broke it, right? and we kept breaking it. But God is like, dude, you guys play the whore, but I wish you would just still come back to me. Like, I don't, you know, who would ever say that to their wife?
Yeah,
Definitely not me.
Exactly.
I would not be like,
no,
I don't mind you slept through all these dudes. Just come
I'll
back to
forgive
me.
you. Yeah, no, definitely not.
No, you broke the vows. Like, we're done. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say to you is like, it's an amazing concept, that concept of loving no matter what, and loving anyone no matter what, and forgiving no matter what. I really struggle because my experience throughout my life, I used to try and be a nice person, as often as I could. When this is when I was younger, and I used to be very trusting of people, and I used to assume the best until I'd seen the worst. You know. But what I found, my experience with that was, I would get taken advantage of all the time. I would get manipulated all the time because people identify that as weakness.
Yes.
And so they go, oh, okay, I know how to play you. You know what I mean? And it's very easy for them. And so over time, I've built myself to where now I think I can usually spot it pretty quickly if someone's trying to, and so, okay, it benefits me in that sense where I don't really get walked over anymore. I don't really get manipulated anymore, but it makes you like I'm not as nice as I used to be. I try to be when I work out, okay, I think I can trust this person, but I don't do those. We were talking about this before we started recording, like just doing nice things for people. Like and you mentioned that when you do that, sometimes people like question your motives and stuff.
The intention.
Well, I'm one of those people that would question, the intentions, because if someone gives me a compliment, straight away my thought is like I'll say, oh, thank you, but my thought is like, all right, when let's see how long it takes until you ask me for what you want, because you're trying to butter me up. So you know what I mean? And it's amazing when that's not the case. But it's like in this world that we live in, so often it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yes. I agree so much.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a song, and I've only got the first verse because I haven't figured out the second verse for it, which would be the sum up of it. But it goes, the hook's something like, their aim won't change to self-sustain if they can gain from your back pain. Because people
say that again, sorry.
Their aim won't change to self-sustain if they can gain from your back pain.
Yeah.
So if people can profit off you putting in the hard work, they're not going to put in the work, right?
Yeah.
So there's, and this is something that I actually really love about God. So when I go to work, for example, I don't go to work thinking I'm going to work because I'm getting paid. By the way, I love my job.
Okay. What do you do?
I love my job. I'm a disability support worker.
Oh, cool.
So, and I work directly for a family, one-on-one support.
Nice.
I've been working with the same 2 people for the last 4 or 5 years. I love my job.
Yep.
But I don't go to work for the money. So the money is irrelevant. And the reason why that is because I'm not there serving those people. So first, and above everything, I'm a servant for God. Because if I'm not a servant for God, then I'm a servant to myself. At the end of the day, like when I didn't have God in my life, I was a slave to myself, right? Because I'd be like, oh yeah, I want that. Okay. Oh yeah, I want to do this. Okay. Whereas now it's like, I want that. Well, no, I don't think you need that. You know what I mean? So we're all slaves at the end of the day, whether it's to the system, whether it's to people we idolize, whether it's to ourselves, whatever it is, we're all slaves. So for me, I'd just rather be a slave to God. So when, say for example, I had a motorbike, right? Bro, I love that motorbike. It was just a little postie, yeah? And I live in an apartment complex, and it was in the underground car park. It got stolen, right? And I was like, damn. But I was also like, you know what? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe that person needed it more than me. I found out later on that it was just some we kind of got the gist of who it was connected to, but the cops really can't chase it up. So I just left it. Like it's a story in and of itself, but it's like, for me, there's a Bible verse that says, "Do not build your treasures up on earth, where moth can break in and where moths can devour, rust can corrode, and thieves can break in and steal. But build your treasures in heaven, where no moth can devour, no thief can break in and steal, and no rust can corrode." So for me, it was like, how attached to these worldly possessions am I? Not that much. I can let it go. My dad actually died on a motorbike. He was revived by defibrillators. So when I lost my motorbike, he was like, "I'm grateful. I think I'm really happy you lost your motorbike," because he's like, "I've seen the way you ride," and yeah. But
it's so dangerous, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So much fun.
So for me, it was like, in all these instances, it's like, it's actually so freeing. People think that the belief in the religion, it's really limiting, but it's actually freeing, because it's freeing me from all this bondage. I'm actually free from being a slave to myself, because I've got my eyes on the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And so for me, bro, like, I just really coming back to it and reading the Bible from start to finish, I've just got this love for it, bro, and just like an understanding that I never had, but I'm grateful that I have now.
That's good, man. And I think we were talking about this a little bit before, like, just, you know, my perspective on like the benefits and stuff of really any religion, you know, as long as it is about ultimately just being the best version of yourself that you can. Is, you know, we talked about the sense of purpose, the sense of community, which is kind of what you're talking about there, the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like, you've got this, you don't have to worry about, you know, making decisions for yourself on what you define as a good person, or like, how should I behave in this scenario? Like, you've got a set of guidelines there that everyone in your community agrees on, you know what I mean? And another thing that I didn't get to, that I also admire about any religion really, is the space it frees in your mind from the anxiety of death. Because if you're not religious, which I am not, there's always that, like, what happens after death? And it's like, for someone like myself, I'll never know until I die. And it's scary not knowing what's coming. And it's like, you know, if I get into a situation where I might die, I had pericarditis a little while ago.
Okay.
It's unknown if it's from the vaccine or COVID, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. People go crazy, man. I posted a video just talking about the fact I had pericarditis, and people were commenting, like, yelling and shit, and then the video got taken down.
Damn.
It's wild. But I had pericarditis, right? So my heart, the lining of the heart was swollen. Sheesh. And it's like this thing, and I had to go to hospital and get like scans and whatever. Damn, and it turns out my case was fairly mild, and I'm going to be fine, and it's all good. And so, but in that period where I was waiting, it's like I start like thinking to myself, like, okay, like, death is a possibility here. You know, and it's like you start thinking about what that might look like, and and it's like all this anxiety and fear and stuff that comes up, that people like yourself that have this, you know, faith, I imagine you don't worry about that so much.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
So there's a weird thing that I feel like, even here now, it's very hard for me to walk into any environment and feel anxious or intimidated or worried, because I'm like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I die, right? In my world, to die is to gain, because I know what's and on that, the kind of what the Bible gets at, and is that, in my understanding, there's actually, heaven isn't this place you go to in the clouds, right? So what my understanding is that in the Garden of Eden, everything was perfect, right? And what was actually taking place was that God and man were dwelling in the same place. So they were existing together. Everything that is good in this world kind of comes from God. So like love, friendship, like these great freaking like deep things that you just are unthinkable to think of what life would be without them. And I feel sorry for people who don't get to experience these things. But what it seems to me is that we're in the Garden of Eden. We separated ourselves. So it's like, if you could imagine these two circles, right? God's place of dwelling, our place of dwelling. So in the Garden of Eden, they overlapped and we were dwelling together. When sin came into the picture and we sinned, we separated that because God cannot be where sin is. God cannot be where there is evil. So in essence, this whole time we've like separated, right? So at the end of time, when Jesus comes back and judges the whole world and we all stand before God, afterwards it says in Revelations that God will renew the heaven. He will do away with the old heaven and earth, and he will renew the heaven and the earth. And then so God's dwelling place and our dwelling place will overlap again. And so it's going to be like the Garden of Eden again, and we'll be dwelling with God in the presence, and there will be peace, there will be love, there will be no sin. So like we'll remember things of this former day, like we'll probably remember the sin that we committed and like the things that we had done, the lives that we'd lived in this new place. But it says that God will wipe away every tear and there will be like no more death. So we'll be back to that Garden of Eden state where the lion lays down with the lamb. The lion will eat grass. He won't eat meat anymore, you know, and like just this like peaceful, I guess, place where we live and worship God, because that is inevitably what we were made in the understanding of what people like. What is the meaning of life? Well, in the Bible sense, man was made to praise God. Man was made to worship God. And in essence, it isn't just what I've learned as well, is worship isn't just singing the songs. Because true worship is living your whole life to the glory of God. So in essence, right, being able to sit down and to being able to love the broken people of this world, being able to, walk past the homeless person on the street and not just keep walking. Those moments, those intimate, genuine moments, I feel is like worship. My whole life is worship if it's all directed to the glory of God. So it's like, yeah, it seems to me that at the end of it, the heaven isn't this place where you get that Lamborghini and you get like all this. Nah, it's not like that. It's not like that. To me anyway, it seems that, yeah, it's going to be very much like this life, but without suffering, without death.
So is that, because I get confused between different, I don't even know the term for it, because there's, you'll pick me up on what the term is, but there's different like sub-religions that come off Christianity, right? What is denomination? Is
Denominations.
Right.
Yeah,
so is the denomination that you follow where there's Judgment Day comes, and that is that when you're saying that we all stand before God, and then
I think all. So it's like basically you die. It's the way I guess the Bible would put it. Everyone dies, and they go into the place called Sheol, which is the grave, and you rest there.
Okay.
Until Jesus returns. Then when he returns, and after all the stuff happens in the end times. So it speaks about, which is very scary, in Revelations, it speaks about the mark of the beast, right? Which is probably people have heard. But it's like, it says before like the mark of the beast comes, it says that there will basically be a one world government, from my understanding. There will be a one world government that rises up, and he'll be the Antichrist, right? He'll be one person who stands above all nations, and he'll be known as the Antichrist. But the thing about the devil is he's known as an angel of light, right? So the devil appears beautiful. He isn't actually this horned freaking beast, right? He's actually a very beautiful, desirable person. Seductive, and it says he's deceptive amongst all. So anyway.
Do you think he's around today, or is this coming much further in the future? Do you think?
We'll see how Jesus was the embodiment of God in man.
Yeah.
I think that the Antichrist is going to be the embodiment of devil in man.
Yeah.
So this guy's going to basically rise as a worldwide leader. He's going to be backed up by a religious leader. And basically, he's going to come in the name of peace and safety. There might be that for a little bit, and then it's going to be war and famine. And he's going to force people to basically get the mark. So what the mark will be, it says, if you refuse the mark, then you will not be able to buy or sell. So people are like, oh, COVID was the mark. No, because even if you didn't get the vaccine, now you can still buy and sell.
Right.
This is going to be what it seems, and from my understanding, and I always say from my understanding, I just want to point this out because I haven't fully gone through the whole Bible, and I'd like to say that I admit that I do not know everything, and that I'm a flawed human being like anybody else. So a lot of stuff is speculation from my own understanding. But it seems that man is going to be asked to receive a mark, and that is going to be probably your credit card with all your details, like your medical history, all that jazz. It says you either get it on your right hand or on your forehead. And if you don't get it, you won't be able to buy or sell. So if you refuse the mark, right, I think, and this is also speculation from my own understanding, but I think when Jesus comes back, there's going to be a time of tribulation where man gets like one last chance to recognize God before endgame and before the devil's done away with. And it's like, it seems that if you don't get the mark, if you refuse to get the mark and refuse to turn away from your belief, you'll have to die for it. You'll be beheaded. Right?
Wow.
But it speaks, the crazy thing, I guess, as well in all of this is that there was something that came to me and I just lost it. But yeah, everyone, like the greatest sin, everyone's like, what's the greatest sin? It's like the greatest sin is to not recognize God, right? Like
there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, and to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, and I don't even know how you do that. But I'll tell you one thing that's strange is that out of all the religions in the world, right, humanity as a whole, none of us use Buddha as a curse word. None of us use Muhammad as a curse word.
Yeah.
None of us use any of these other religious people as a curse word. Why is it only Jesus?
I was actually wondering about that today. Like, where does the term, like, I hope you don't mind me saying, but just like for the sake of talking about it, like when someone says like "God damn" or like, you know what, like, where did that why did that start? Because as we were talking about before, only 60, 70 years ago, or maybe even less, like almost everyone was going to church. Where did these phrases, who started using it in that context?
See, I don't know, bro, but this is why I think it's one of those things that it's like, damn, like I can't deny it, because like, why would, if we're only using Jesus as a curse word, wouldn't that be like the greatest thing that the devil ever did? Was like, or one, there's many, but one is to like, yeah, let's just get everybody using Jesus' name as a curse word. Because could you imagine, right? I don't know what your mum's name is, but could you imagine if you used your mum's name like you did Jesus' name? You know?
Yeah.
It's just
it creates that like subconscious kind of like opposition to whoever you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, in essence, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, and for me, it's just it's sad. I mean, but it's like you know, as Jesus said on the cross, "Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do." Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
and I think everyone's on their own journey. Like you yourself, you know, you spoke about your experience and you got sucked into the world of psychedelics, and it took you, you know, a long time to kind of, and it took you like an insane kind of experience to be like, hang on, like I think I need to redirect myself here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it was the same experience. I would say, from my belief, it was because sometimes God uses hectic experiences that are intense and unable to deal with, to get us to kind of fall back on Him. Like it's a funny paradox, but no one really prays to God unless they're going through a really hard time. But then when you become a Christian, right, no one really prays to God when everything's going well. So, but the funny thing is that like sometimes God can use intense situations to bring us back to Him. And for me, it wasn't like straight after. It wasn't like I took mushrooms and was like, "Oh, God's the way." But it was like after a couple days after, looking back and reflecting on that situation and just being like, "This is all empty."
Yeah.
That was that for me was the turning point. And I had looked into like a lot of spirituality. I was in this kind of place. My belief through all of that was like, there is no wrong way. Like always, I believed that there was a God. But I just kind of believed that there was like, He was everything, that He was kind of like nature and all these things were God, like God was the universe. But yeah, that belief's definitely been shattered.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I had this idea, I think, that we were like, kind of like the body, like I was thinking about it like this, right? Like, so say the cells in your body, what do they do?
Well, they keep you alive.
Yeah, but they come together and they multiply, right?
Right.
What do we do as humans? We come together, we multiply. So I thought that like maybe we're like cells in God's body, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's just one big organism, and then I was like, and then after coming back to the faith, I was like, oh, nah, I don't think that's too much. Because man was made in God's image. That's what the Bible says. So, and that's all mankind, man and woman. But like, and I guess, you know, you look at us compared to like all the animals on the world, what's the difference? Well, I don't think an animal can sit back and be like, you know what, why, I'm a lion. Why did I eat that zebra?
Yeah.
Maybe he could have had a family, could have had kids. Like they don't have that ability to reflect or like a conscience, I guess. And
it
I
seems
think
to be what separates us and why we're able to do what we do.
Yeah, I think that is the godlike essence in us. And I think that's why a lot of like Wu-Tang and stuff, they call themselves God. They're like, yo, what's up, God? Like they're always like, because they're the embodiment of God, right? I think that's what they were getting at. But yeah, I would never really represent myself as God because I'm too flawed to be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely made in His image.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But that's awesome, man. I think it's very powerful to be able to give you such, you know, purpose and direction and discipline and all of those things as well, you know. And this is something you see a lot in, I don't know how much you know about Muslim religion.
Yes.
I don't know a lot. But what I do see and respect very highly is the level of discipline that they display.
Yeah.
You know, and you see that a lot in any Muslim that's like at a high level in their field. Like their life is their work and their religion. And it's like, and that it like the amount of discipline that it takes. I could imagine that it would take to be studying like your religion that much and then just work. Like it's just insane. And you can say what you want. Like there's people that flat out refuse to talk about a religion. There's people that completely oppose it. And if that's what you want to think, okay, but you have to respect and appreciate the discipline. And those other things I was talking about, you know, the relief of death anxiety, the sense of community, like these things are real. Yeah. And, you know, and that's why I'm fascinated with it, because it's like, you know, I've got my beliefs, everyone's got their beliefs, and that's fine. But I don't think it helps to just shut yourself out to like, no, I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just fascinated to understand like your viewpoint and how it helps you, and it seems like it helps you in an amazing way.
So,
You know.
yeah, so many. So, like I'll go to a party, right? 'Cause like Jesus ate and drank with sinners, right? He said once, it's not the healthy that need a doctor, but it's the sick.
Mm,
So that's why he was in the world and sitting with prostitutes and all that stuff, because he was actually like loving. They need love too, like
mm.
not in the sense of sexually, but just genuine, authentic love. And
They need it the most, even.
yeah, they needed the most guidance.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's kind of like, so I'll go to a party. I might buy a bottle of wine.
Mm.
I have 2 glasses, maybe at most, depending how long I'm there for. But I'll never get past that. I don't like getting past that. I have once or twice, and I just don't like it. Like, I'd rather be, the Bible says, remain of sober mind, so you can be vigilant at all times and be on guard from the attacks from the devil. Like, so it's just like, in all times, I try to have a level head about me, what I'm doing, where I am, just sober minded. Like, it's actually freeing. There's a lot of disciplines that are hard about it, but there's actually a lot of freedom in it. Like in Christianity, especially, like, it's not like the Muslim faith. I think in the Muslim faith, you have to pray like 4 times a day. You have to set aside like specifically 4 times a day. And that's not to speak down on them or whatever. Everybody's free to believe what they want to believe. But it's like, for me, it's things like, all right, example, lust, right? Who doesn't struggle with lust, you know? And especially in this world where everything's over-sexualized. Dude, I ended up, when I come back to my faith, I deleted all the females that I was following off Instagram. I unfollowed them all.
Yeah,
So
right.
I just don't want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about that is sometimes I'll get into situations where maybe there is an opportunity that a female's trying to engage with me, and because my brain's not in that place, it's like I'm naive to it, and I'm only seeing the genuineness of that situation.
You don't even recognize it when it's happening.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right.
But that's because I've detached myself so far from that spot that, like, I'm not in that situation looking directly for that thing.
Yeah.
My ex once said to me, what's crazy about perception is it's when you walk into a room and what you notice. That's perception. So, like, you know, I may walk into here, and the first thing I notice is like the paintings or the TV, because I like TV. Maybe I like to watch TV, so the first thing I notice is the TV, and I'm like, oh yeah, is that a big TV? Like, it's based on perception is what people will see in life, and that even comes back to the dark thing. If you're always in the conspiracy theory, you're always going to see the darkness, and if you chill in that darkness long enough, it will devour you. Right? So it's like that perspective. Having my eyes set on God all the time, or trying to all the time, because I'm not perfect. I'm full of lust myself. It's something I still very much struggle with. But having my eyes set on God all the time, even when someone wrongs me, like you were saying, how people take advantage of kindness. It's like, I know when people are taking advantage of me, and also loving somebody is not enabling them to continue to keep themselves in a bad cycle. I had a friend who was struggling with drugs and gambling, and he'd ask me for money or food, and I'd just be like, yeah, man. Like, and then I realized that I was just enabling him to continue to gamble.
You're not
do
being the good friend there.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes love is actually saying, hold up, you're being an idiot, bro. You need to get your life back on track. Like that. And so, in essence, having my eye and my perception on God, it's like, I can go out of my way and be kind and love people because God loved me first. And if they wrong me, oh well.
Yeah.
That's God. God will deal with that.
I was going to ask you how you deal with that.
So God will deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
I pray to him about it, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like, I really loved my ex, bro.
Yep.
I broke up with her because when we were together, I was still smoking weed. We were smoking weed together, drugs, all that stuff. And I was like, look, I got to go this way. I got to go this way. Like, I got to go back to God. I'm sick of living this life. It's empty. It's pointless. I wake up with purpose every day now. I never had that.
That's so good.
And so I was like, look, I got to go this way. You can come with me or you don't. Like, I'm not going to force you. I don't want you to be anybody. I don't want you to be someone you're not. And she's like, yeah, I'll check it out. She got off weed. We were sober together. She was coming to church, checking it out. I was getting so deep into it, bro. Like, I was just like, this is like 100% where I want to put my focus. And then she kind of started like falling off. Started going back into the drugs and all that stuff. And it was hard for me because I was kind of like, maybe if I just unconditionally love her, she'll come back to it and stuff. But you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she was living the life that I'd separated myself from. Of the drugs and like, and I turned to her and I said, you know, like, where are you with God? And she's like, oh yeah, I don't know if I'll ever believe, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, oh, true. I was like, that kind of sucks because, like, you know, I've always thought if I was going to have a family, like, I'd like to raise my children in the faith. And so if that's not what we're going to be, then maybe this isn't the right decisions. So, you know, we went back to being friends. And then not long after, she got another partner, right? And my friend was hosting this event, and I'd said to him before when me and my ex were together, like, yo, like, put her on the event, like, because she's a really good artist as well. And so the event was coming up, and he hit me up. He's like, yo, I'm just getting artists ready. And this is after I broke up for, but I was like, yo, are you still putting henna on? Because, you know, like, not in the sense of like, oh, I wanted to see her or anything. It come from a genuine place of like, well, this is something I said I'd do, so I want to do it. This is something like, are you still going to fulfill that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, cool. And so she hit me up and she was like, yo, like, do you want to get tired of my best mate to film it? And I was like, oh, not really. Like, I was trying to like separate myself a little bit. Not because I didn't care about her at all. It was just hurting me too much.
I get you. Yeah. And you need to separate yourself from that to move on, you know.
And so the event comes up. It's getting closer. And she's like, oh, it was so weird. So she found this new partner. She said that they were going to get married or whatever. They're going to like spend the rest of their life together. Anyway, I was like, that's all right. And then the gig's coming up and she's like, oh, do you mind if I bring him? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, yeah, I'd really like you to meet him. And I was like, okay.
That's going to be hard.
And so I went away. I was away the week coming up to the gig. I was away in Melbourne, and like, I was just exhausted emotionally as well, from being in Melbourne. It's a draining place. It's a draining place.
Melbourne is?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Spiritually, it's a draining place.
All right.
For me, anyway. I was skating every day, all day, skating around the whole of Melbourne, doing lots of walking and stuff. Like, I didn't just sit on my butt there while I was there. So I was exhausted. I was emotionally exhausted for whatever reason. I was going for a rough time. And then I'm at the gig, right? And it was like sound check, and she rocked up with her partner. And I was up at the top floor. Like, there was 2 levels. So there's where the stage is, and then there's this upstairs, and you got like a balcony view down. And because I was so drained, like, I was just listening to my album, getting prepared to perform some songs from it. And she walked in, and then at that moment, I was like, oh, I just got this mad sinking feeling in my gut. It's like looking at somebody that I'd loved and I'd cherished and I helped grow now with somebody else. And it was like, you know, I shared real genuine moments with that person and maybe helped them grow and feel ways that they'd never felt before. And now there's somebody else doing it. It's just a weird, like, it's a gross feeling. No one wants to feel that, right?
Yeah. It's hard.
And I was just like, I just prayed. I closed my eyes and I prayed and I said, Lord, I'm so emotionally exhausted, man. I do not have the power to do this, man. Like, please just give me the strength. Like, I don't even know how to act, like what to do. And I just felt this, just go face it. Oh, like, I'll be with you. Just go face it. I was like, all right. I walked down I'm like, hey, Hannah, how you doing? She's like, I'm good. I'm like, yeah, gave her a hug. And then before she even introduced me, I was like, hey, man, how you doing? I put my hand out. He shook my hand, and then I gave him a hug. And it wasn't like a conceited one. It was a genuine hug. And I started asking him about his life, like what he does. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just like, because in that, what I felt to do in that moment was to love. As I was saying before, how can I love in every instance? I'm a hugger. I love cuddling people. Right? I love giving hugs, because I'm like, so many people don't even get that. So I love giving hugs. Anyway, and so in that moment, it was like God gave me the strength to get through that. And like, and people say, I had someone ask me once, like, oh, Christians talk about loving, but if you're not actually genuinely loving people and you're only doing it for whatever reason, is it really loving people? And it's like, well, I'm actually genuinely loving people. Like even my greatest enemy, like I'll still show love to them, because a lot of people, one, they're doing it, they're hurting people as a misunderstanding. They're lacking the understanding in their own life. Like maybe there's something going, like, so when someone would wrong me, rather than going, oh, freaking, they did this to me, that's so unfair, it's now like, oh, I wonder where they're at. Like, I wonder what's going on in their life. So, you know, when someone arcs up at me now or tries to fight me or whatever, I'm not a fighter. If someone backs me into a corner and I have no choice, maybe.
Yeah.
But I can usually get out of these situations. When someone sparks up, when someone sparks up and they're like, you just like, are you alright, bro? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, why are you at this point where whatever's going on in your life has now made you blow up on me? Like, what's going on there, bro? Like, and what I find is it's just kind of opened my mind up. So actually, majority of people are just hurting. Like it's that whole hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And so when someone hurts me, it's really cool to be able to be like, you know what? They're probably going through something that I just don't see. But God, like, you've got it all. And it says there's someone somewhere in the Bible who says, a man who blesses his enemy heaps burning coals on his head. And what that kind of means to me, and it's not to say, oh, yeah, but being nice to people, I'm freaking doing this. If someone truly hurts you and they know they've hurt you, and you do a kind act for them, say, for example, someone like robbed from you or whatever, and then you find out a week later that they're starving, they have no food, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go take him a meal. You take him a meal, right? But you give them that act of kindness, even though they'd wronged you, it's like they're gonna sit back and they're gonna be like, I can't believe he just gave me food, though I only just stole from him last week. Maybe they'll be like, what is wrong with me? Like, how could I do that to them? And that's a lot of the time what it does, because what I see in this world is it's like someone gets hurt and then they put up that wall of defense, where I think the most strongest manly thing that anybody can do is be vulnerable, right? Because being able to show vulnerability, being able to show genuineness, being able to be honest in a world that's so fake, in a world where everyone's putting up shields to protect themselves, being vulnerable, it makes people feel like the ripple effect. It's like, oh yeah, I can actually be vulnerable. I can be safe. It's weird. I'll get into conversations with people and then they'll just start telling me their life story. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, what made you feel to tell me that? And they're just like, I just feel safe.
Yeah. I can relate to that, bro. I can relate to that 100%. And I think, I don't know what it is, but I think you touched on it there, is because I've always something, I don't know why, but I just open up about stuff. I just always have. I think it's the way that I deal with things is I open up about it to people. And
it's a good way to be.
Yeah, it's just, for some reason, that's like, if I go for a walk by myself, it doesn't work. I fester on it, it makes it worse. If I open up and tell someone, it helps me. And what it does is exactly what you were saying. It makes them feel comfortable to open up. You know, pretty much all of my friends have told me that they've told me things that they've never told anyone else. And it's just because I think it's because I listen, and I think it's because I also open up.
Yep.
You know, I think it's just, it shows them that it's okay to open up. And like, I don't, like, I judge people. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't
We all
judge
judge people. We
Yeah.
all judge people.
But
is
in
this a
a-
safe environment? Is this not a safe environment? We all judge people.
100%, you know, like, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't judge people. But when I'm sitting here having a conversation with someone, most people I meet, I'm just genuinely interested, like what made you the person that you are today? And like, that's what we've been going through, is like, what's happened in your life so far to like build the person you are today, you know?
There's one thing that kind of like came to me when I was like a bit younger, and it was like, everybody has bad experiences. Everybody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody has trauma, whether it's small, big. Everybody has pain. That's the one thing we all share, right? Suffering inevitably, but there's two choices. You know, being single parent. You know, I didn't have a lot of guidance for me on how to be a man properly. I was raised by a woman. My pop was there, my grandfather.
Yeah.
He grew up with me a lot, but he was kind of like really old-fashioned.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't really have the guidance to be a man. So I had to learn a lot of those things myself. But inevitably, it was like, when bad stuff happens to you, there's two ways you can go about it. To me, anyway. There could be many, but to me, there's two. You can either be like, oh, that hurt me so much that everybody else deserves to feel how I felt. Or there's, oh, that hurt me so much, no one else should feel that. And I think that sadly, sometimes even when people are hurt by something and they don't address it, inevitably they hurt people because they shut a part off of themselves.
Yeah.
That because they've shut it off, they're not actually aware what they're doing.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. They don't realize that they're doing what happened to them. You know, I've had this like discussion with people before, and I wonder, like, you know, like, so what you're talking about, where you're faced with those two choices, I often wonder, like, because so many people seem to choose to just go down the path of doing what happened to them. But I wonder if, like, are some people born without the ability, like, is it a choice, or are some people born without the ability to, like, even be aware of that? You know what I mean? Because it's like, some people go their whole lives,
I think,
being unaware.
I think it gets to a point of like, you can back your mind into a corner in the sense of like, you can know you're killing yourself, but you can justify the reasons why you're killing yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be on complete self-destruction mode, and you can be like, oh yeah, but it's okay because it's doing this.
This and
it's
that,
having
and
this
and that.
outcome,
Yeah.
or it's preventing me from doing that, but in essence, I think it comes down to, and there's so many things, but I think one of the things it comes down to is the ability to feel. Because one thing for sure, and I know this personally, I'm real sensitive. Like, because of my upbringing, I'm really emotionally intelligent. So I'm not toot my horn here being like I'm an intellect. No, I'm emotionally intelligent because when I would go home and I'd come home to a household not knowing what the emotion's going to be of that household. I'd be on guard coming home, being like, all right, what environment am I walking into? Do I have to relax? Like, it's like all right, what's the temperature of the water got to be at home? Because I need to adjust myself so that I'm either not boiling that water or I'm not freezing it. You know, I've always adjusting myself. And so because I've always been adjusting myself, it's like giving me this weird inbuilt thing where I can just sense kind of how people are feeling. And sometimes even not like, I don't even realize I'm doing it. So I've just had this emotional gauge. But for me, it was like, even when I was in my addictive personality, even when I was smoking the weed, I knew that I was killing myself. I knew that I was wasting my time. I remember getting in these battles with myself, bro, where it's like, oh, it's like a cycle. It's like a vicious cycle. You're like, oh, I need to smoke weed because I'm depressed. But it's the weed that's making you depressed. But you're smoking weed because you're depressed. And like, dude, I would smoke weed some days and just be like, dang it, I did it again. Like, far out, bro. Like,
oh yeah,
how many times, bro? Like, you know, I'd literally get angry at myself.
You talk yourself into it. You know, you talk, and this is why I will always make the argument that weed is addictive, because exactly what you just said. Like, an addiction, the whole like thing that defines an addiction is the activity creates the need for itself. So without that activity, you don't need it. Whatever it is, whether it's like whatever kind of addiction you want, without that like abuse of that activity, you don't need it in your life. But as soon as you start taking it, it creates that need for itself, because without it, you do feel depressed. But then you smoke it, and then like, if you're talking weed, you know what I mean? As soon as like when you're saying in those situations where you beat yourself up over it, I've been in similar situations, and as soon as you smoke it, you go, like, you realize, like, no, I just fucked up. I just talked myself into it. Like, but the whole time leading up to it, you're like, no, actually, it's not even that bad. Like, it's not really affected my life. Like, it's okay. It's this, it's that. And then as soon as you do it, you're like, it got me again. It's addiction. You know?
And that's where it's like, we can talk ourselves into anything. We can justify anything. And I remember, like, one of the things I really noticed about me and my weed addiction anyway was how when I would smoke, how much it would make me become more selfish, in the sense of like, it'd be like, yeah, I want this now and I want that now. And like, I wouldn't actually care about anybody else or how it affected them. And one thing about even weed, like something as simple as weed, is the disconnect it made between me and my other family members. Like, I'd be at the family dinner and then they'd all be having combos, and they'd be like, oh yeah, what have you been dropping? Like, yeah, good. I just didn't want to talk. And it actually would frustrate me to be around them. And I'm like, why do I feel frustrated about? It's the weed. But when you're in it, bro, you don't realize it's the weed. You're just like, oh no, it's just me. I'm just anxious. So you're like, no, you're anxious because of the weed. Like, and it's just, it creates so many problems. And that's the crazy thing that I noticed as well. Like, how all these problems arise from the abuse of substances, like alcohol, weed. All these problems arise, but people are just like, no, it's not the substance, it's me.
That's why I take the substance, because of these problems.
But the problem is the substance.
Exactly. Bro, 100%. I used to smoke cigarettes. You know, I've been addicted to obviously cigarettes, weed, and some other stuff that I probably won't talk about. But you know, I can talk about it with you off this, but I don't know if I know about that stuff, you know. But it's nothing crazy. Now it sounds like I was a heroin addict or something. I wasn't doing that. But you know what I mean? It's just like, I completely understand what you're saying there. When you're in the middle of an addiction, you don't realize you're addicted. And then once you come out of it, it's only then that you can look back and go, oh, I actually was. And that's why so many stoners would sit there and argue with you like, no, I'm not addicted. I could quit any time. I don't freak out if I haven't got weed, rah, rah, rah. All these arguments, they all say the same thing. But it's like, mate, I was there. Like, I get it. And trust me, if you quit, you would get it too.
If people don't get angry when they don't have weed, why is there billy rage?
Exactly. Why do, like, it's not the case with everyone, but why do they smoke a bong as soon as they wake up in the morning?
Dude, I remember when I was stoner and I was working like Monday to Friday and finish at 4. It's like I come home and like, because my digestive system wouldn't kick in until I'd smoked weed for the day, right? I got to the point where I'd come home and I'd pack myself a billy, and then I'd need to go do a crap before I even smoked the billy, just because my digestive system was ready. It's like, it's time. But but the thing is as well is that like with all that stuff, it's like a lot of it comes, and the crazy thing, a lot of it comes back to people don't want to feel. People don't actually want to feel what they're feeling. Like, and I say that from a personal experience as well. I didn't want to feel a lot of the negative, dark feelings that I was feeling. All right. But now that I'm not, and I'm sober, and this is what I was saying to you before about the reason why I feel like the music is at a better level now, because I'm not smoking, because there's no buffer, and it's just raw emotion. There's nothing to hide behind. There's nothing to soften the blow. It's just raw. It just is what it is. And the thing is that like, I gave this analogy. I've given it a couple times. I gave it to a friend of mine. I seen him at a pub, because like I take the dude that I work with disabilities. I take him to like live music events.
Oh, cool.
And so every Sunday there's a live music event at this pub I take him to. My friend just happened to be there.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and I'm like, yo, how you doing, bro? Like, gave him a hug, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm not doing too well, eh? And I was like, you alright? And he's like, oh, well, he's like, to be honest, like, I just broke up with my girlfriend, eh? And I was like, oh, dude, like, well, he's like, well, she broke up with me. And I was like, oh, dude, like, rough, man. I go, how you feeling? And he's like, oh, man, not good, eh? But then it clicked. It was like, but he's at the pub, right? The first place he come from after the breakup is the pub. And I realized that was something that I used to do a lot. And when I'd be hit with pain, I'm like, oh, don't want to feel that. I'm just going to go, just going to run. I'm just going to escape. I'm just going to, I don't want to. And I said to him, I go, look, bro. And this is something I learned from my ex when I broke up with her. Not the last one before. It was that I gave him this analogy. So, feelings. Picture the body like a river, right? The body's like a creek or a river. And the feeling is like a fish going down that river or a creek. So if you try to avoid or escape that, it's like heaping rocks, a pile of rocks into the creek or the river, and it prevents the fish from going anywhere. It stops it in its tracks. So what's likely to happen is that like that fish is going to because it can't go with the flow. It can't go against the flow unless it's salmon. So it's stopped in its tracks, which means that maybe another fish will come along, and that fish is going to just multiply, and it's just going to get worse. It's just going to build up. But I learned that when I sat there, I think it took me longer than a week to get over it, but like the 3 for M thing, right? That came from me sitting, not moving, not trying to skate it away, not trying to run it away, not trying to smoke it away or drink it away, but actually just sitting with myself and just being like, okay, what are you feeling? Oh, okay. Why are you feeling that? Oh, okay. Well, what was the point of this? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So how'd you get here? Oh, okay. Okay, so what's next? Yep. Oh, okay. Actually sitting there and just letting letting your body do what it does. Like, people are like, oh no, I'm sick. But it's like, it's so great that you can get sick, because getting sick is your body actually stripping it of its toxins, stripping the toxin out of it. You getting sick is your body taking care of itself. The body, like when we eat and drink, we don't need to think about digesting the food. The body does it, right? I think it's the same with feelings and emotions. If you actually just sit with yourself and you just let your body take its course, it will move. It will pass through you. It's like that fish is moving down the creek, and it will just keep swimming. It will eventually.
Not always pleasant.
No, it's
but
not.
You just got to process it.
Yeah.
I agree, bro. And again, it's only for me recently that I've really started trying to do that. But because I was depressed for a lot of my life. But
same here.
Since coming up to Sydney and doing stuff and staying away from my old lifestyle and that, I've started to really thoroughly enjoy my day to day, which I never thought was possible. But I literally enjoy it so much. And then whenever I feel that feeling to start creeping back in, it's exactly what I do. I sit down, maybe I'm driving back from work, maybe I'm like whatever, and I just like sit down, and sometimes I'll talk out loud, and I'll just say like, okay, how do I feel? Okay, I feel this way. I'm angry, or I'm whatever. And why do I feel like that? You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I feel like that because of this. Well, is it really because of that? Or are you taking it out on that? Like, that doesn't seem like I'm angry because this person cut me off, or whatever. It's like, are you really angry because that person cut you off? Is that really what's like? And you just work through it, and like, but you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You know, you can't just be like, no, well, I'm angry because they did that, so fuck them, and like this and that, and like that's not going to work. Like you need to like properly just process it. And bro, like within a day or whatever, the feeling's gone.
Yep.
And I can start, you know, it's not like you're just happy all the time.
Nope.
But it's like learning how to identify those feelings, and instead of just pushing them away, just like process it. Like, okay, we got to deal with this. And then the quicker you do that, the quicker you can just move back on. You know?
And that is the beautiful thing about life. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. When people are like, aren't you cold? I'm like, nah. When my roommates are like, oh, it's hot, I'm going to put on the aircon. I'm like, no, don't. Because like I appreciate when it's raining. I'll go outside and I'll stand in the rain because I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that I can feel it, you know. Same with the heat. I appreciate the fact that I can feel it. So when it's hot, I'm not complaining that it's too hot, and I'm not complaining that it's too cold, because I'm like, I just actually appreciate that I can feel these things.
Not even the other day.
Nah.
It was so hot the other day.
Dude,
man.
it was. But it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
you
know, you go to the beach, or it was just like, all right, time for cold showers, you know?
Yeah, so you do cold showers?
Yeah, and ice baths.
Oh, yeah, you do that?
Yeah.
How do you feel? You feel so good afterwards.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the thing I love about Wollongong is that there's heaps of like fresh water, rivers, creeks, waterfalls. You hop in those, it's freezing, right? And so this is another discipline thing I like to do, even in the shower, cold showers. So when you hop in cold water, your body goes into fight or flight mode, right? If you give in to that, you go shallow breaths, you won't be able to control yourself. So what I like to do is I jump in the ice bath, or I jump in the cold water, submerge myself maybe up to my chin, and then I just focus on my breathing. Just deep breathe. Hold it. And what that does is whenever I'm in a freaking fight or flight mode, no, just breathe. Calm down. How are you going to attack this situation? Kind of gives you that ability to like, no, I'm not going to take that first initial time to fight, time to run. It's like, nah, let's see how we can navigate this. So the cold water, the ice baths, like you sit in there and it's just like coming back to your breath, managing that stress. And what it also does supposedly is it's a good anti-inflammatory. It's really good for your body.
Yeah.
I love it. I hop out of the freaking ice bath and my skin's like stinging a little bit. It's like, oofed.
And
feel good.
Feel so energetic afterwards. Me and my mates from work, they got me. Well, Curtis, the one guy in particular, he got me into working out. I never really worked out before when I wasn't living in Sydney. But moved up here. He's always worked out. He got me into that. Yeah, and we'd go. We'll go down to the gym. There's a gym part of this complex here. We'll go down to the gym, mad workout. There's a sauna there as well. Straight into the sauna, and then straight into the pool. And we were doing this like in winter as well, so it's so cold. And we go into the pool for as long as we could. Usually only a few minutes, and then back into the sauna, back into the pool, back into the sauna. And like, you know, we enjoyed the process because you're doing it with mates. We're hanging out, we're talking, whatever. But even if you're not enjoying the process, like, the feeling you get after like workout, sauna, ice bath, and if you have like a protein shakes and BCAAs and you give your body what it needs after that, oh my God, it's better than any drug I've ever had because it's so real too. You know what I mean? It's not this fake like just endorphins feeling. It's like it's real.
And it doesn't strip away.
Yeah.
So like, you know,
there's no come down.
Acid, freaking MDMA, like all these stuff. They supposedly, what things like MDMA does is it takes all your serotonin from your reserve, the body's reserve tank.
Okay, yep.
So that's why the day after you're like, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so depressed, because you've actually used up all your reserve. You've used up all your serotonin and all your reserve tanks. So there's nothing left. Whereas like, you know, you do this natural thing, working out. For me, it's skating, or like, you know, I've been contemplating working out, but yeah, I'll get there. Maybe I won't. That's okay too.
Yeah,
but
it's not for everyone, but I love
cardio.
You know? Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like yeah, like after you do something natural, it's not taxing on you.
Yeah.
It's not taxing on your
Yeah.
body. You know what I mean? Like these natural things, and you know, talking about LSD before, it's like, oh yeah, your brain opens up. Yeah, but it's actually taking something away from you as well. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about drugs, is that it takes more than it actually gives. Way more than it actually gives. Destroys your relationships, destroys your friendships, destroys your life. Yet things like, you know, ice baths, eating well, sleeping well, having actual some spirituality in your life. Like, I would like to say, you know, Christianity definitely, but actually just having a sense of knowing that you have a spirit and a soul. That is something that is these natural things that you can feed. And you know, like as I was saying with the discipline, one thing that I've learned even with my Christian faith is it's like your body wants one thing, but your spirit wants something else, and they're constantly fighting, right? They're like I wrote it in a poem once. It was like as I read its verses, I realize wherever cursed the spirit and flesh verses in a constant battle. The road to destruction is well traveled. The corruption and seduction will leave you baffled, but the road to righteousness is topped with loose gravel, narrow and hard to navigate. And what it is like, you know, if I'm spiritually feeding myself, if I'm reading my Bible, if I'm praying, then these things fill up my cup. They fill up my reserve. And then when I'm around people, I can just overflow. Oh, give a little love there, give a little, oh, you wrong me. Oh, well, give a little love there. It's just like, it's able to overflow. But if I'm not filling up my cup, then it's just pouring out an empty cup. And inevitably, you're going to start hurting people as well when you're trying to help, when you're trying to do things for other people and your cup's empty. You're going to start hurting people, because then you're going to start turning around being like, oh, nah, sorry. Letting people down. You're like, nah, I know I said I would, but I can't. Or, no, sorry.
Or even when people think they're helping, which, you know, you touched on before.
Enabling, yeah.
But you're actually being detrimental. Well, you know, like before, if one of my mates had a horrible day, I'd be like, nah, come on, mate, it's all right. We'll go out to the pub. We'll have a good time. It's like, I'm just trying to cheer him up.
Yep.
But I'm pumping him full of alcohol and whatever else happens at the pub, you know, and it's like, that's not helping. That's not a positive coping mechanism. I remember when I was a teenager, I would have been like maybe 17, 18, something like that. There was this kid in the town near us, and we were hanging out with him, me and all these other people. We were hanging out with him and his sister, and they got called or something and said that their father had just died of a heart attack. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. And then I had like a can of rum. And I was like, oh, here, have a drink, bro. This kid was like fucking 13 or something. I gave him a can of rum because I'm like, yeah, this is how you fix problems, you know. And in hindsight, it's like, I just thought I was helping. I just thought I was like, here, feel better. But it's like, in hindsight, it's like, that's the worst thing. Especially someone that age, it's the worst thing you can do is to say, here's how you fix these problems, you know.
But to be honest, that's how a lot of the world fixes its problems.
Exactly.
Like that's,
it
seems to be definitely something coming out of, my grandfather and my dad's generation of males. It's like, we don't talk about our problems. We just drink them away. Which is, I feel like that's a double-edged sword as well, because there needs to be a time where it's like, look, you can't just sit back and cry all the time. There comes a time where you actually have to get up and do something, right?
For sure, yeah.
Because you'll find that actually when you get up and do something, you'll feel a lot better. You know, you can't just sit in a depressive place all the time. There is a time for like sitting and being still, but it's that balance. There's a time to sit and be still. There's a time to move, you know, and I feel like if you sit and you're still for too long, that can become a bad thing as well. There has to become that point of like, all right, I gotta let this go. Like, you know, I think for me, personally, even with before, like my faith, I was always okay with death and people leaving, because I kind of always understood that everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. Nothing in this world will last. Nothing. And it's just like, I don't until like, I don't know, like maybe until I'm close to my death, and then I'm like, oh, everything's losing, then I'm gonna lose everything, then we'll see. But it's like, yeah, for me, everything's kind of been temporary. And I think one of the crazy things in the Bible, so there's a man named Job, and he's known as one of the greatest men after God's heart in the Old Testament. And he loses everything. Like, he loses his house, his wife, his kids, his pasture, his animals, everything. And his friends, they come and see him. But for the first, I think it's 7 days, they sit in silence. They don't say anything. They just be in his presence. Just let him know that they're with him. And I think as people as well, we're so quick to have answers for everything. That sometimes all people actually need is silence, and just someone know they're there for them.
Yeah, just know that they have support.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's almost more important. You know, a lot of the times, me especially, I'm the kind of person that I like to have control of my life. I like to make my decisions. I like to navigate my own way. Even if someone has the way and they know how to do it, and they could do it better than me or whatever, and they could, I love getting advice and stuff, but ultimately I want to take on the advice and choose, you know what I mean? Yeah. So for me especially, it's more important to just have someone that's like, just to show that they're there for support. You know what I mean? I don't want you to come in and fix my life. But to just say, hey, you know what? Like, if you want to get it off your chest, like you were saying, just being there in silence, you know, it's powerful.
And I find sometimes, you know, when I'm letting out to my friends and talking about whatever I'm going through, people know how to fix it. People know the solution to their problem. Yeah. And I find having someone to talk to about what you're going through is a way for you to vocalize your own thoughts, and you hear what you need to do. And I've said that before to my homie Ty. I was like, yeah, sometimes, bro, when I just talk to you about stuff, it's like, I don't really need advice. It's just, I hear myself saying what I need to hear. And then I'm like, oh, that's what it is. It's sometimes just, your brain's so like, blah, 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 blah. So being able to have a talk and be able to let all that blah, blah, blah out, however it comes, you're just like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, exactly right. And also to have someone validate, you know what I mean? Like your perspective and what you're thinking and feeling and saying and so on. If someone can just say, yeah, you know what? Like, I can understand why you feel that way. I can understand, like, you know what? That probably sucks. You know what I mean? To have someone say that is powerful as well. Like, a lot of people feel like they're stuck in a trap or something, and they're the only one. You know what I mean? That's been there.
Yeah. Which is crazy, because somebody is going through exactly what you're going through. Yeah. At least one person. Yeah. That's at least, like, there's I don't think there's anything that happens underneath the sun that hasn't already happened before.
Yeah. And that's what's so powerful about music. You know what I mean? And for me, it's hip hop, but, you know, everyone's got their taste in music. It's like, it's expression, you know, and yourself, you know, you're able to write these poems, put down your experiences onto paper, and put them out into the world. And even if 10 people, 20 people go, yeah, I relate to that and that helps me, like, that's amazing. You know, obviously we want to impact as many people as we can. But even if it's just a few men, it's so powerful, you know. Dude,
there's going back to that, how he's saying about like compliments and the intentions. One kind word can completely change somebody's life. You know, I think sometimes even when people do good, genuine stuff, they only see the moment. They don't see what happens afterwards when that person goes home. And like, why did that person do that? Like, that's crazy. Like, you can actually set off a chain reaction of like effects. And I think in a world where there's so many people hurting, and there's so many people grieving, there's so many people suffering, really just loving on people is like the greatest thing we can do. And I'll keep saying it, but it's because it's so true. Even example, right? how many times do people go to the grocery store or the supermarket and they see the same person there every day? They don't say anything to them. So just go about doing a thing. I think it's mad when you can take that time to be like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? What's been happening? You finished work soon? Oh, yeah. If I go to a servo, fill up petrol or whatever, I talk to the dude behind the counter. I'm like, how's your day been, man? Or you working the late shift tonight? Like, what's it? You know? Actually just have a chat to them, and then they're like, oh, I'm not just a robot.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I went on a cruise a couple of years ago with one of my ex-partners and her family, and you come to realize a lot of people who work on these cruise ships are from like third world countries. They're getting paid crap.
Yeah.
And I would see people, they'd be like chilling out, like laxing, drinking, and someone will come over and they'll just be like, get me this, and just treat them like crap. And it's like, bro, like, and my ex's father turned around to me and he goes, you know, these people have like families. He's like, you know what I love to do? He's like, I love to learn their names.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, all right, new challenge. So I was on the cruise ship. I learned all their names. Like, I go on cruises for work sometimes. Right? I take the dude I work with.
That'd be awesome.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Nah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Getting paid to go on a cruise or holidays is pretty crazy.
That's cool.
But yeah, every time I learn all the people's names who's serving me.
Yeah.
And you know what? You talk to them and you learn about their life.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, how many kids do you have? Or what country are you from?
Yeah.
And it's cool. You're like, oh, he may be like, oh, I'm from Indonesia. I got, 3 kids, just had a newborn. But they're spending like 8 months away from their families. Sometimes even years, just so they can send money back to their family and provide. And then there's people on these ships who are treating them like absolute crap. And it's just like, I just wish that there was more people who had a heart.
Yeah.
More people that had a soul. And just like I was thinking about it today on the train. And it was like, with that stuff, I'm just going to read it.
Yeah, go for it.
And there was that chick crying. And for me, it was like, dude, I just wish that people had more hearts. But it's like, it's this little bit of poem. Sitting in the quiet train carriage, I can see the pain carried on from the struggle. She's gripping violet-stained baggage. My brain's buried in warm thoughts of a cuddle for all forms. Embody everybody before they're all gone. Names and frames varied. From birth we've ferried upon the same river. Hustle and bustle. We tussle with our kerfuffles till we're drained and warm. Is this our aim to be pawns in the game of success? Life ain't just chess. Our frames need rest. Can we change the procedures? 'Cause these cheap beds leave our heads a mess. Can't you see we're blessed? The beast will feast on us till he's dust. So find peace and release and trust in Jesus. Yeah. That's what I got up to.
Kerfuffle, that is such an MF Doom rhyme. As soon as you said that, I was like, he would say that. You know
always
what I mean?
He's always
saying like, that was cool.
Always try to even baggage. But yeah, it was, for me, it was just like, man, I'm sitting on the train. I'm just looking at all these people. They're just in their phones. And there's so many people sitting on this train. And it's all silent. And I'm just like, bro, I just wish I could just be like, oi, group hug?
Yeah. But you can imagine how weird people would look at you if you did that.
Yeah.
That's something about the world we live in. We can wrap it up soon if you want. But it's something about the world that we live in that I don't want to say that I wish it was different, because I love the world that we live in. And I think
it's got to be the way it is.
Exactly. And I think things just evolve and things change. But it's so hard to meet people now without a reason to. You can't just my grandmother, I remember being a kid and we'd be on the train, right? And she lives in the Blue Mountains, and we'd come up to Sydney, and then on the train trip up and the train trip back, we'd sit in the seat and there'd be someone behind us, and if they're sitting by themselves, she would say some comment to them, and then they'd say something back. And a lot of the time, there'd just be this full conversation, and they would talk for the whole train trip. And then sometimes when I wasn't with her, she'd like tell me, I'd say, "Oh, how was your trip?" And she'd tell me like, "Oh, I met this guy," and like he told him his story and everything. And it's like, we don't do that now. Like, can you imagine if you were sitting on the train and someone tried talking to you? Like in today's day and age, like if that happens, it's like,
Why is this guy talking to me?
like what the fuck? What's wrong with you? You know? And it's like, we used to be able to have those just random encounters with strangers that we may never see again. And it's also how we met people. And like you might meet one of your best friends that could ever be just by bumping into them and having a conversation. But it's so taboo now to do that,
There's this there was this song, and it's not hip hop, by a guy called Cosmo Jarvis. It's like an acoustic singing song. And it's standing in the bullet going down a greasy gun. It's like our hands are touching, but I'm miles away from everyone. We're touching when it's moving. The awkward sound of silence isn't awkward if it's soothing. To the frail old grunt man who's seen the last King Kong. It's like basically this whole The chorus of the song is like, we just want to talk, but we are all too scared. We just want to talk, but there's silence here instead. We just want to talk. We can never talk enough. But if we don't even talk no more, then how are we supposed to love?
Yeah, that's so true. That says so much as well.
Because it's the whole song's about being on a train and no one's talking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Send me that song if you think of it.
It's called We Just Want to Talk by
Cosmo
Cosmo Jarvis.
Let me write that down.
It's different.
Bro, it's so hard doing this podcast thing because if, like see on the right up the top there's like Royal Fan by Schoolie D, Legend Official Brad Strutt, Jazzmatazz that you told me about. There's
Jazzmatazz.
Jazzmatazz, sorry. Everyone I talked to is like giving me all these awesome recommendations. I got told to listen to Blue. I think it was Blue by Frank Ocean.
Okay.
Is it called Blue?
I don't know. I thought you were talking about the hip hop artist Blue.
No, it was. I think anyway. And it's like amazing album, and it's like all these suggestions, and I do really want to listen to them all, but it's so hard. And then there's the piece of paper there. That's a list of people that have sent in. Hey, can you check out my song on the podcast? It's I love when people send them in, but it's just it's
hard.
So much stuff to listen to. But yeah, what's this one called?
Cosmo Jarvis. COSMO. JARVIS. We just want to talk. So yeah, I like all genres. So I love hip hop, but I'm all genres.
Nice. What have you got coming up, bro? Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to put out there, or
double-sided coin? Yeah, I'm really keen to drop that. So yeah, it's basically a story. The whole album's a story, start to finish. So it's me being in that negative headspace that drug habits leave you in, right? Like the first song, it's like the hook for it's like I wept in the darkness and stretched to the light. Some steps went the smartest, still crept to the mic. I love that, the image of just weeping in the darkness but stretching for the light. Like that's it was just I was in such a dark place. And then the whole album's basically, except for one song, is about me coming back.
Yeah, nice.
Coming back to my spirituality and coming back to God, and
that's really cool.
Yeah. Finding myself again.
Inspirational too. Yeah. And
so that there's a second Minds album coming out.
Yep.
That I've just been sitting on for ages.
Yep.
Keen to drop that. And then I'm actually working on a 3-track demo with a friend of mine called As a D. A little track. It's going to be sick. It was just kind of like a collaborative work that me and him did. I made the beat for a track me and him did called The Ode.
The Ode, okay.
And then it hasn't been released yet. And then we did another track with with my ex called The Road to Hell.
Okay.
He found the beat, but that's, dude, some of the lyrics in that, I just love it. And then we're finishing off the third track, which is another beat that I made. It's got me and DJ Helix on it, and then he's going to jump on it as well. So it's going to be a 3-track demo.
Nice.
It's probably going to call ourselves Earth Dwellers.
Okay, that's cool.
And then just maybe I was thinking like Mundane Memoirs or something like. We'll figure it out. But
as a D, okay, so because
he's a good dude.
I said I'd get him on. For some reason, like normally when people hit me up and just say, "Hey, I want to come on," I just think like, I don't know. I feel like people should like give me a reason why first.
Yeah. I think he probably just hit you up because he's seen that me and you were doing stuff. Yeah.
But for something about him, I just actually thought, you know what, I actually do want to get you on, and that's what I said to him. I was like, I don't know why.
He's a real head.
He seems cool.
Yeah.
So
he's a good dude.
I think I do want to chat to him. Yeah.
He's got a massive repertoire as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and he's all his music's real honest as well.
Okay, cool.
So I knew him through Helix.
Okay, cool.
So that's how we met, and yeah, he's a good dude. I'd vouch for him any day.
Nice.
But I'm really looking forward to Road to Hell. That was that track. Oh
yeah,
it's too good. It's just too good.
Cool.
It's like I know my verse off by heart because I've listened to it that many times.
Yeah.
But it's like Indeed, we need soul food, so I'm handing out sandwiches. Police are gone crazy, fidgety, they hand itches. Politics succumb to greed, now that's playing riches. It's like we only care for power, jewels and bitches. Drum was sent to become the hip-hop evangelist, cause it seems the system's abandoned us. Biased views crept through the parameters of their cameras. Don't buy into their false truth, this damages our perception. Depression is the weapon to keep us kept inside. Oh, the great divide and conquer. So I strive to provide a community that's stronger, cause this opportunity won't last much longer. I hope you're in tune with me, we're all going bonkers, thanks to Willy Wonka. Any sweet treats, oh escapism, your relief is just too brief. The road to hell is paved with good intention, with God will I dwell, I burn with Satan and his henchmen. My intention is vent intention through the invention of rhyme until I'm fine.
Nice, bro.
It's such
cool.
it's a banger, bro. It's probably one of my favorite off that little duo.
Have you got a date when that's coming out? Do you know yet, or is it still?
It's still just coming in. It's just coming,
Okay.
and that's the thing. Even with double-sided coin, I've been thinking like, I don't want to do the thing where I'm like, I'm too anxious to drop it, so I'll just drop it. I'll probably drop like 1 or 2 tracks off it, and then like drop the album, and then
Nice.
But I think I think with the Earth Dweller album, it's just gonna, once it's done, like Azza needs to finish his verse on one last track, and then it'll be sweet. We send it off to go get mixed and mastered. I send all my mixing and mastering to a dude named Caustic Yoda in the Blue Mountains.
Yep.
Shouts out to Caustic Yoda. Man is a don.
Nice.
He's worked with people like Fundamentals.
Oh, cool.
Dietrix.
Okay.
He has his own crew called Bomb Threat. They're pretty political as well. They're good.
Bomb Threat.
Yeah, and he's like got a massive analog setup. So he's like an old head. Like he's probably one of the biggest old heads in the game. But yeah, I had so much respect for him. Helix put me onto him as well, and then everything I do, I mix and master through him.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. It's good to have someone you can rely on. Like Trilogy that I was telling you about before. He needs to find himself. He was saying this to me, like he needs to find a producer, and he needs to find someone to mix and master, because he also wants to find someone that can get him in a studio.
Caustic Yoda.
Okay.
He
cool.
produces his own beats.
Nice.
He has like SP 1200s. He has MPs. He has the MPC 300, I think.
Okay, yeah.
The Akai MPC 300, which is like the same beat pad drum machine that Doom uses.
Nice.
And like, I think it's actually MPC 3000. I don't know. He has like a complete analog setup. He makes his own beats. He's old school boom bap. Like he's just hands down probably like one of my favorite and most trusted producers in and around. He lives in the Blue Mountains.
I'll write that down too.
And he's one of those dudes, right? So like I had a 12-track album, like this double-sided coin's 12 tracks. I was like, yo, how much is he gonna? I was like, oh, I want you to master 12 tracks for me. He's like, yep, it'll cost you this much. And I was like, all right, sick. Sent it through to him. It didn't matter how much time he spent on it. He sent them back to me. He's like, give them all a listen and make sure that I've got all the levels how you want them. And then I'll fix them up if anything's out of whack. And then I was like, yeah, just this and this and that. And he's like, yeah, no worries. Fixed it up. And then, yeah, he sent me, he just charged me. The price he quoted me was the price he charged me.
Nice.
And like, you know, even with Azadi, he had this guy that we were trying to get our track mastered through, and every time he'd have to mix and master it again, he'd charge him. Whereas like Caustic just charged me the once.
That's good.
And like, yeah he's sick, bro.
There's no like, he's like happy to go over it, happy to check back over it and adjust it. And yeah, that's cool.
I went and recorded the first Minds album at his place.
Oh, nice.
So,
awesome.
And the second one, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So,
nice,
yeah, he's a good dude. But
what was the name again?
Caustic Yoda. Caustic Yoda.
Yoda. Okay.
So it's like caustic soda.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, right.
Caustic
cool.
soda.
Yeah,
nice. It's actually caustic.
Yeah.
It isn't caustic. It's
cool.
Sorry, Caustic Yoda.
Caustic Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good dude, bro.
Nice,
very
man.
trusted.
That's awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to put out there in the world, or?
Nah.
Check your Instagram if you want people to check you out or anything, or?
J.Rumz.
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 Awesome.
Check me out. Spotify, YouTube. I haven't got J.Rumz up on YouTube, but Minds. UNOMINDZ. Minds. YouTube. There's some music videos up there. Shouts out to Ty, my dude who does all the videography, plus my best mate. Shouts out to you for putting this stuff together, bro.
Cheers, bro.
And I'm really looking forward to what Discover Hip Hop turns into. I think if you keep going about it the right way, bro, keep it humble, keep it genuine, keep it authentic, bro, it's gonna do exactly what it needs to do, man.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
So I appreciate you.
Thank you. This was awesome. This was a great chat.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Bro, it's been a freaking hot minute, eh?
Yeah. I just realized the time. I was like, oh, damn.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate your time and all that, and we'll chat to you next time.
Much
Peace.
love. God bless.
That was awesome, bro.
Thank you, bro.
He's one of the best scientific minds we have today.
It's a bit too rough. I think it's blowing out. Yeah, that's good. Check. Yeah. Just a little time. Yeah. All I really need is just to chill and breathe. So many people took to the pills for relief. I've been fighting my grief with my belief. I've been looking at Jesus cause we trust. I've been walking around blind like a fetus. I don't need your Adidas. Yo, the only thing I need is less noise in my speakers. Half of y'all are just some tweeters, wearing your damn white beaters and white sneakers. You'll need something little real. Yeah, something I can feel. You won't catch me putting veal in my meal. Nah, that ain't my deal. I'm trying to find something real, something natural, something that I could capture you all with. Flip it like a spatula with a gift. It's just the beef, but I ain't after that. Dracula sinking his teeth into this mad beat. Shout out to Discovery Hip Hop. It's lovely when the chit chat don't stop. Yeah, and I've been stuck in the pop and lock, but I ain't b-boying, destroying and avoiding all these cats decoying a bunch of toys and trying to make noise in a quiet den. Like, what the fudge is the point of that? I'd rather listen to the whisper over some vinyl crack. That's the twist in my spinal, like a spinal tap, walking that final lap. Yo, I've been behind the mic, but it's kind of alright, cause I've been trying to find that light in the midst of the darkness. All these artists are heartless, I don't know where the heart is. They disregard it. But now I'm leaving mics bombarded with nothing but the soul, cause I am in control. I used to fill up the bowl with a bit of freaking weed. Now the only thing I need is to sit back and breathe. I receive relief from my belief, cause good grief, I'm trusting in the Lord, yo. Always moving forward, his word is my sword. So if you wanna move with me, then jump in the accord. All of these things I couldn't afford, I don't need them. I'm forever be reading till my hair's receding. I'm working on these words in the gospel. I'm trying to keep it refined like a fossil. I toss fools out to the overseas, cause they tripping on themselves like some ovaries.
Yeah, damn, bro, that was awesome.
Thank you, brother.
That was awesome to watch, man.